Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Horror. Tonight we are discussing the 2002 movie Red Dragon, the prequel to Silence of the Lambs. And joining me tonight is, Vinny. And also, first of all, welcome, Vinny.
Good evening.
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about your profile picture, but also I want to welcome Tommy as well to the stream. Tommy, welcome.
Silence of the
Hello.
Pigs.
Silence of the
Hello,
Pigs.
Trina. It is good to see you. I know that you wanted to talk about horror, but what is it about horror that drives you to watch it so much? Is it some deep-seated yearning that's inside of you to be able to do some of these things that you see on the screen? Is that what your driving factor is to watch these horror films, Trina?
Are you shrinking me like Dr. Lecter? I love
this
it.
This is the Silence of the Pigs.
That's right.
That's a fantastic profile picture. Okay, real quick. So Tommy was the first in the chat and on the panel. Hello, Tommy. And Manliness, good to see you. Okay, he's here for the elephant, so you're gonna be staying a while, buddy.
We got red dragons is what we got.
Yeah, we got a red dragon. I don't think I can provide you with an elephant tonight. Vinny, talk about your profile picture because this is amazing.
Yeah, this is a piece that I made. Again, hand drawn, painted on Photoshop. This piece was actually I was contacted by if anyone remembers, I think it was the El Rey network, the one that Rodriguez was responsible for. He's the director from Desperado and Alita and Once Upon a Time in Mexico and all that great stuff. They contacted me and they were going to be doing Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs on their network. And I had to sign a release and they wanted to use this artwork. So in between commercials, they actually showed this. My Hannibal piece on the network. So yeah,
amazing.
Pretty damn awesome.
Yes, very cool. Yeah. That is very cool. I love that backstory and that awesome piece of art right there.
Thank you very much. Again, I love the movies. Yeah, all the ones that Anthony Hopkins did. Phenomenal actor, and I had to capture that creepiness. It's just so cool.
Yes.
But perhaps, Vinny, you feel some desire within you to be able to start cannibalizing people as well. We here at the Silence of the Pig Collective could show you the way.
I don't know about cannibalizing, but definitely murder.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, so tonight, we're gonna be definitely discussing. Obviously, the stream is for covering Red Dragon, but we're also gonna be talking about the similarities and differences between this movie and Manhunter, the very first Hannibal Lecter movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Manhunter that came out in 1986.
Yeah.
And also there's some comparisons and contrasts to be made between both of these movies and the TV series Hannibal.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to discuss.
Oh, for sure. And kind of, I guess, sort of kicking it off. Do you know why they named it Manhunter?
I was just thinking because they were hunting.
No. This is literally. This came down because of the studios. It was going to be Red Dragon, that original movie. But,
okay.
But they had changed it to Manhunter because there's another film that came out that had dragon in the title, I think a month or two prior, and it bombed. And they said the studios were afraid that people might associate it with Red Dragon, so that's why they renamed it Manhunter.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it kind of worked out too, because I think if it was regular Red Dragon, they might not have done the Red Dragon one later on with Hopkins.
Yeah.
Something interesting to point out. So, Trina, Did you notice that the voice actor? Now, I did not have the chance to watch Red Dragon, unfortunately. In my cell, they did not allow me to watch that one. They did allow me to watch Manhunter. And I did notice that the cadence and almost the tone of the voice for what they call the Tooth Fairy in that one, which was Red Dragon, is very similar to the Manhunter one.
Well, yeah, I did notice the similarities. Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like Manhunter and Red Dragon are very much alike, and I mean, there are some things that are in Red Dragon that Manhunter didn't include. So it's like with Red Dragon, it's a little more fleshed out in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a little bit more in Manhunter that's not in Red Dragon, like a little bit more about Will's psychology in Manhunter.
Yeah. There's a lot of exposition they try to cover in the opening credits of Red Dragon.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is kind of interesting how they did it, but they did it through like the scrapbook that that the Red Dragon has, Francis Dollarhide.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and did they mention the scrapbook on Manhunter? I can't remember if they did or not.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I just got done watching it, and I don't really recall that. I will say from the clips that I've seen of Red Dragon, it does seem it's more of a love letter between the killer and Hannibal than it is in Manhunter.
The scrapbook was in there. It was in Manhunter.
Okay, like I have 11 pages of notes on Manhunter and 11 pages of notes on Red Dragon. So yeah, it would take me a while to see if I wrote it in there because, oh my God, these movies, so much to them. But okay, I thought that the scrapbook was in Manhunter, but I couldn't remember for sure.
Yeah, it was. They didn't make it as prominent, but it's definitely there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Red Dragon, they focus a lot more on it. Well, in the opening, and then a little bit later on too. Yeah, because it is in there because of what happens to Freddie Lounds and everything, and he has they both have a scene where they glue in one of the newspaper clippings into their scrapbook.
Yes. Yeah. So
I know because there was so much that we saw on the TV series as well. So it's because I had some of those visuals in my head as well. So we didn't want like the Mandela effect happening.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Hey, what's up, Bone? Good to see you.
What's up?
Hope you're well tonight.
There, you look delicious. I would like to eat you all with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
That's next week.
Yes, I agree, Bone. This is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen Manhunter 1986, that's pretty much like almost the same movie. I totally recommend that as well.
Yeah. The directing was fantastic in Manhunter. That's the same dude who did Miami Vice and Heat. It's a Michael Mann film.
Yeah, you can, and I love the feel of Manhunter, how it's very like film noir.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, he's got excellent shots in there.
I will say, watching that film, it doesn't even really feel that dated. Not really at all.
I agree.
Yeah. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and it was hard to focus because obviously I didn't know all the nuances and everything and kind of the pacing of it. When I watched it as an adult, it's like, okay, this movie is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it takes its detours from here and there in certain spots, but it is damn good how he did it. But yeah, again, these novels were, very famous and very thorough. So.
Yeah, that's the only piece of media I'm missing now is the books, and now I'm thinking about reading those too.
Yeah, I'm hoping to find if I could find it on audio, that'd be even better.
Yeah.
That way you could work in,
So okay, so this movie starts off with Hannibal is at the choir, and so he's watching the symphony, and I like that they included that in this movie because that's something that they did in the show. They you can tell that they took that scene and worked it into the show because remember,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like like stuff around the orchestra and all that stuff, and
Yep.
yeah,
With
that
Franklin and
yes.
I forgot the guy's name. The one
Oh man,
who's friendly
yeah,
with the killer as well. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. They did some fantastic stuff, but you could see it. So yeah, that opening is awesome. So
yeah,
they're listening to one of the famous symphonies, whatever, and we're zooming in now to Hannibal in the crowd. Dr. Lecter, he's watching this, and you can see he's really into the music, but then he's fixating on something. Something doesn't sound right. This guy who's playing the flute is off, and he keeps hitting these bad notes, and you can see the twinge in his eye, like, oh, you just ruined that.
yes,
he
yeah. He was really like fixated on that flute
Mhm.
player, like not doing a good job.
Yep.
That was bothering. That was getting under his skin.
Yeah.
And it's funny because after that we are at a dinner party at Hannibal's house, and it's the symphony board is there, and it's this fine dining and all that stuff that Hannibal likes to do, um and one of the women that's there is like, I feel a little guilty that we're having this dinner, um the guy, I can't remember the flute player's name that he's been missing, and then one of the guys who's also at the table says, well, I know it sounds awful to say, but the we've been doing good without him. And he's like, I know it sounds awful, but so did his playing, and they laugh about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then another woman, she says, Hannibal, confess, what is the divine, what's in this divine looking amuse bouche? It's like fancy for like appetizer.
Yeah. It
And
was some kind of like sliced meat thing that was
yeah,
prepared a certain way, whatever.
yeah, yeah. He loves that stuff. And Hannibal says, I'm afraid if I told you, you wouldn't even try it. And they like laugh that off. And then he sits at the table and says, Bon appetit. Which reminded me of you, Vinny, because you said that at the end of every stream.
Yeah, Bon appetit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, it was funny as hell too, because like he's got that look on his face, and we all know what the hell they're eating, but they don't. And
yeah.
it's perfect. He wouldn't even try it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's just it's one of those things. But yeah, they all have this great meal, or whatever, and I guess they're on their merry way because it's a little bit later in the evening when he gets like a knock on the door or whatever, and it's Will Graham, and he opens up the door. He's like, "I didn't mean to bother you so late, Doctor, but it's like I need to talk to you about this." And so Handel's been helping him with the profiling on these certain serial killers that they were looking for, and yeah, so he shows up at his place as Hannibal's like just cleaning up for the big dinner that they had.
Yep. And it's funny because it's just weird to see a different Will Graham. So in these movies, so in this movie, Will Graham is played by Ed Norton. Does a great job.
Yeah.
It's just I can't see anybody other than Hugh Dancy playing Will Graham now. Yeah, he's fantastic. So yeah,
all of them were pretty good. I'll give the dude from Manhunter as well, the one who was on CSI.
Oh yeah,
he did a good job too. His is a little bit different.
Yeah,
that one felt almost a little bit forced at times, but we know that his mind was broken, so like it kind of still fits. But yeah,
it's kind of like he's like, it depends on what you see first. So if you see, and also wonder how he's described in the books, because in Manhunter he's more of like a bulky guy, whereas in the show and in Red Dragon he's a slimmer build. He's
Yeah.
like I
And
wonder how.
Yeah, and Hugh Dancy's the smallest out of the three.
Yeah, he's like tiny compared to all of them.
I'll say out of all three of them, Hugh Dancy is my favorite. It's probably because we had so much more time watching him on those 3 seasons. But Ed Norton, I think is definitely my second, because he still did a really good job, and there's certain things that he did in the acting performance that worked really, really well, especially for the story that they were telling on this one.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think being exposed to Hugh Dancy the longest made me prefer his Will Graham.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, I agree. Ed Norton does a fantastic Will Graham in this movie. And oh yeah, what was the actor's name in Manhunter that did Will Graham? Man, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was the star of the CSI show.
I know, I'm looking it up too.
I am terrible at their names. I just remember how well they taste.
William Peterson.
William Peterson. There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
Gil Grissom.
Yeah. So yeah, he did a great job too. They all did, honestly.
And
but yeah,
no gristle. No gristle.
No gristle. No.
He had no gristle, Vinny.
Nope.
I think. Who do you think would have the most gristle of all the Will Grahams? I'm thinking.
The William Peterson.
Yeah, the bigger one. Yeah, who would have more gristle?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very bold-legged, but yeah, he's a little more stocky compared to the rest of them.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Okay, yeah. So Will pays him a visit, and they talk and stuff, and Will is telling him that I think we've got it wrong. I think our profile is wrong on this guy, and so he's explaining to Hannibal why he thinks that they've got it wrong, and so he's telling him about how he, Molly, and Josh, his son's name is Josh in this movie, went to Molly's parents on New Year's, and they were, and like his father-in-law was teaching Josh how to carve roasted chicken, and he referred to part of the chicken as like the back of the chicken as like the oysters, and that kind of made Will think about things, and he's like, I never thought of them as oysters before, and he's like, and this got me thinking that the organs and everything, how they're going missing on these victims, that they're not just being collected, they're being eaten, and we can see the expression on Hannibal's face when he says that.
Yep.
He's like, oh shit, how did he figure that out?
Yeah, he's got that crazy stare.
Yep.
That he's giving him.
Yep.
It's not like a stink eye. It's more like he's almost like seeing through him. Like he's very upset about this knowledge that he's dropping on him. Yeah, because he started listing out all those things, the kidneys and all these things that, because they would be used in culinary dishes, like they're all pieces that would be eaten. So yeah, he's trying to convince them on it, and Hannibal, Lecter's not saying no to it, but
right.
He does say it is late though, and he's kind of throwing it at him. So it's like, yeah, maybe we'll reconvene in the morning. And and we'll set up a proper new profile on this, this killer, which I'm assuming they're alluding to the Chesapeake Ripper.
Yeah. And that's something they don't mention, the Chesapeake Ripper. Right. They don't mention that in either movie.
I thought they did in Manhunter. Did they not?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you might be right about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. Um, welcome to the channel, Country Shape Media. He asked, did the main antagonist of Red Dragon have a split personality or a delusion? Because I hadn't seen Red Dragon in a while, though I have seen the adaptation that had Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, okay, so you saw Manhunter.
Manhunter. Yep.
Yep. So the Tooth Fairy in this movie, Red Dragon, I mean, it's not said with any kind of concrete proof or anything, but to me, it comes across as kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's hearing the voice of this red dragon, this beast in his head. So
Yeah, and in this movie, Red Dragon, the reason for the like that beast voice and everything is all boils down to his grandmother, how his grandmother treated him.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like he's not been psychologically profiled. It's kind of left to the audience to make up their own mind about it.
Right. They just want to paint a picture of someone who's very sick and broken, and this all stemmed from the verbal and sort of physical abuse he was getting as a child.
Yep.
Because yeah, you'll hear it like once we do get into it, but yeah, you could hear like the grandmother's voice in his head, giving the audience that exposition that we needed about the character as like he's working out, like you hear him like pushing the weights and all that, and he's even kind of like interacting, like we're hearing his voice as like, no grandmother, like that type of stuff, as you hear her voice saying, "You're a filthy little beast. I'm gonna chop it off." Really disturbing things.
Yeah, she was horrible.
Yeah.
And in Manhunter, I don't think they really did. They get in. I don't think they get into his
they didn't really get into it. Not
yeah.
really. I mean, it pretty much starts off with the one inspector contacting Will to bring him back in to try to profile this guy. That's really where it comes in on Manhunter.
Yep. Starts right off with Jack getting Will back in the swing of things. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff, this kind of preamble, is not included in Manhunter.
Right.
But everything after is pretty much the same.
Yep.
I mean, like the way they approach scenes, and there's some things that are changed, but for the most part, they're very similar movies.
Yeah.
And so he goes, so you mentioned, he said, okay, we'll pick this up in the morning. We'll work on our, redoing our profile on this killer. And he says, I'll go get your coat. You wait here. And he gets up, and then Will's in his office. So he stands up and he's kind of looking around at, Hannibal has like a collection of like antiquities and stuff like that on a bookshelf. And he's looking around, and then he sees this book there, and it's a French recipe book. And he looks, it's book, like it has one of those ribbon bookmarks that's attached to the book. And he opens up to that page, and right on it he sees in Hannibal's writing sweetbreads, and it's a recipe for oh man, I can't remember what the recipe was for, but it involves organs. And then that's the moment that Will realizes, oh my God, it's been him the whole time. Because as they were talking, he was like, I'm surprised. You're like the top forensic psychiatrist I know, and you haven't thought of any of this? And Hannibal played it off as like, well, I'm only human. Of course I'm going to make a mistake.
Right. And then, Will was still like, because it's still, that's something that feels a little more obvious that you would have caught this.
Yep.
That's when he kind of like dismissed it that they're both kind of tired, kind of shit. Like,
Yep.
let's wrap this up. But you could almost see like how exhausted Lecter looks as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what I liked about the performance as well. It's the subtleties that he did. 'Cause here's the thing too, you got to keep in mind with Anthony Hopkins, when he gets a script, he reads it, no exaggeration. He locks himself in a room and he reads a script 250 times.
Wow.
He goes, yeah, it sounds very obsessive, but he goes, I need to know everything inside and out about the characters, all of them, not just mine, but because he's got a form of dyslexia too. He said so. It's always been harder for him to really focus and understand. So that's why he does it. So it's so ingrained in him that he goes, as soon as the movie's done, he completely like deletes it out of his brain.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting how his process is, but he goes like if they were to go to him and go, oh, we need you to recite these lines or whatever, he goes he'd need maybe about 20 minutes to a half hour, and he could probably tap into all of it again. He said.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Like what? Yeah, he's a great actor.
Oh, he's fantastic.
And yeah, so as he's reading this book and he comes to the realization that Hannibal's been this Chesapeake Ripper the entire time, he's kind of like shocked, and he goes to turn around and Hannibal's standing directly behind him, and Hannibal attacks him. He stabs him with a knife.
Yeah.
Right in the abdomen, like the side of his abdomen there, and yeah, so there's a bit of a struggle, and he is able to kind of so Hannibal gets him down to the ground, but while he's down, there's like a few arrows there, and he plunges those arrows by hand into Hannibal's stomach. This makes Hannibal stagger backwards onto his desk, and but then he gets back up and goes over to Will. But during the struggle, Will had dropped his gun and it fell on the floor. Well, Will grabs his gun, fires
he had one in his ankle.
Yeah, in his ankle holster. That's right, too. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one he takes out. Yeah, and he starts firing at Lecter.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to say hello to Gap. How you doing tonight? He says hi to everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, hope you're doing well tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so I think he shoots him. I think in the arm and like I think the right lung.
Yeah, like upper
chest
upper torso area. Yeah.
Probably above the lung, but yeah, he gets around there, and then so as they're panning out, you see Will passes out on the floor because when Hannibal did get him, he didn't just stab him in the gut. Like what took him down to the floor is when he went upward with that. And he goes, just close your eyes. You're slipping into a warm bath. Like he's like just let it go. And yeah, as he's like about to collapse or whatever, that's when he stabbed him in the gut with the arrows. But the scene is great because as he's down, this is the first time we're actually literally seeing him get caught. Because in Silence of the Lambs, he's already in the prison and all that. But this was the story leading up to that, and that's why it was so crucial. And I'm happy that they went back and they remade this movie like the proper way, so that we do have all three movies now with Anthony Hopkins, portraying basically what got him on the map, got him the Oscar and all that stuff. Back when things actually mattered a little bit more. In the storytelling and all that shit. But I love the shot because he's on the table. You see the arrow sticking out of his stomach, and they pan over, and it's kind of like that upward shot, and you just see him like he's blacking out, with his back on the table, and Will on the floor, bleeding out from his gut. But yeah, it was an intense scene.
Yeah, it was, and the way they made it look so. The way they had Hannibal fall backwards onto his desk and kind of laying across his desk with his eyes open, it looked like he was gone.
Yeah.
But no, he's not. And then and that's how the movie opens, and then we have the opening credit scene, and this is where we get the exposition of the scrapbook that Tooth Fairy keeps. We see all the tattle crime headlines of about Will and Hannibal, and we also see a nasty pic of his grandma with her nasty teeth, and it shows that Hannibal has been sent to prison for 9 consecutive life terms because they confirmed that he has 9 kills, so a life sentence per kill.
Yeah.
And it also it says top cop to loony bin, and then it also says special agent retires from FBI. So we're getting a lot of information just in the opening credits right here, which I thought was a neat way of doing that.
It was, because there's a lot to tell in that story.
So much.
Yeah, and Manhunter, it's a longer movie. At times it feels like the pacing's a little dragged out, but it's kind of purposeful as well. Yeah, that's why that movie's really good, like kind of standalone on its own there. But
yeah, Manhunter is slower, but the overall pace is that way anyway.
Yeah, because this Red Dragon moves a lot quicker, but gives you a lot of that info that you need. So that's why, like in the opening, it makes sense that they did it like that. But yeah, we even see again, like there's a photo of Will in the hospital that Freddie Lowndes had taken. Like, the thing is, if you're not super familiar with the stories, I could see how a lot of it could be missed, or you need to have a rewatch of it to refresh you on a lot of the stuff. Because there are little things, there's subtleties, there's a lot of quick stuff happening too while we're seeing the scrapbook.
But having things quicker is never good, Vinny. You want things to simmer for a long time on the stove to be able to get the proper flavor out of it. And Gap, I hope that you're doing well too. Nice fava beans and Chianti for you as well. But I do think Manhunter it delves more into the side of Will than anything else. Then at least that is what I'm supposing, since I couldn't see Red Dragon because streaming services suck. By the way, this is a good time to tell everybody, be sure to get everything on physical media, because these streaming services are not your friends, and they will hide everything and make you pay extra to see something that you want to see that they were showing for free just a few months ago.
Yeah. That's a great point. I have like a whole case full of like old DVDs and stuff, and that's how I was able to watch this.
Tommy, amen to that, because I had to rent it. I don't have a physical copy of any of these movies.
And I'm telling you, it was only maybe 2 months ago that it was available on Tubi or Pluto or one of the other ones, and it's just gone. One thing real quick, they did mention it in Manhunter that he had 9 kills, but they said there were also 2 survivors. One obviously would have to be Will. Who was the other one?
So in Manhunter, it's someone we've never met before, even on this show, and that agent's name is Stewart. And I'm thinking that because they describe that person as the person who first saw his basement, and in the show Hannibal, that role was Beverly.
Right.
So I don't know who Stewart is.
She didn't survive.
She didn't survive.
Who's the agent that he had for like 3 years on the show?
Beverly.
No. I thought Beverly was the Asian one.
Yeah, that's what you. Who do you mean?
The one whose arm? Remember, he took her arm, and we thought she was dead, and then she pops up later.
She wasn't Asian.
No. Beverly was the Asian one.
Yeah, Beverly is the Asian.
Right. The other survivor, I guess, on the TV show was when he let free was the recruit that was working with Jack, and Jack was
I almost said Starling.
I don't remember her name.
I always forget her name.
My Girl, the actress who was in My Girl.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, hold on a second. See if I can find it.
You're gonna say it, and I'm gonna be like, oh yeah.
And Schlumsky
What was her name on the show?
on Hannibal. Yeah, I'm looking for that. Hold on a second.
Miriam Lass.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Miriam Lass. She was basically she's I guess would be one of the survivors, but I don't know if that character is in the books or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I read the books because I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
See, I took us down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
See, this is what happens.
Well, Tommy,
I guess it would be the guinea pig hole.
Yeah, well, she was in a hole for a number of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the show he had her in a pit.
Yeah. Like almost like the well in Silence of the Lambs.
Kinda, yeah.
Country Shape Media says what makes Hannibal so dangerous is how he reads people and manipulates their emotions and situations. Mm-hmm. Combined with his intellect makes him a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, that's...
He sees through everyone, and he could get them to bend to his will.
Yep.
Well, there's another thing about him. He strives perfection in everything he does. So that is another thing that makes him a little bit more dangerous than the average psychopath who is just going to just do whatever, such as the Tooth Fairy or Red Dragon, as he's called in this version of the movie. So.
I feel like that's some kind of personal attack or something.
And what's going on, Stieg?
What's up, Stieg?
How's it going? Stieg says she's not in the books because Trina slapped her out of it like she did with Blanche. Oh my God. And hello, Slasher.
What's up, buddy? Oh shit.
No, not anymore, Slasher. That's why I couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I had to watch Manhunter on Pluto.
Yeah. Manhunter you can find on free still, and I don't think it's on Tubi anymore either. But it's on another free service. Red Dragon, I had to rent. So get physical copies like
get physical,
Tommy mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I watched it on the DVD that I had. So, but
and like Gap pointed out, definitely physical media because we know they can edit things out. They could Daryl Hannah have a furry butt.
Okay, I didn't know that happened, but a Disney, right? They cut out the ass on that or something.
Yep,
I remember hearing a couple of years ago. But yeah, Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal are both on Max.
Yep.
So for anyone, if you want to follow along or for next week.
Yeah, Country Shape Media and the books if you can get the books. Yeah, that's on my list. I want to read the books now that I'm going to be seeing all the movies. I feel like I'm still missing a huge chunk of this media.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's something we were very thorough with.
Yeah.
The last couple of months.
Yeah, because we'll only know for sure what's real canon is by reading the books as usual.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so then we're several years later. We're at Will's house, and Jack shows up to recruit Will back, with his help because there's a new killer in town, and there've been a couple of kills already, and Will has special abilities and how he's able to catch these killers, and so he's recruiting Will.
Yeah, and in Red Dragon, it's like he's thinking a little bit more outside the box from everyone else. They kind of allude to this kind of connection he has as well, but it's not as shown clearly like they do on Manhunter and the regular Hannibal TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So on Manhunter, he definitely feels like he's getting into the mind of the killer as he's doing this because he starts questioning and talking to himself as if he's talking to the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you see the craziness that they tried to say that like when he lost his mind, and that's why he didn't want to be part of it. And Red Dragon, it's not so much that he does that; it's kind of like a matter of fact thing, like, "Oh, you sick bastard, you did that because of this." And then he calls Jack right away. But like you said, a Manhunter, it's like he's literally like, "You're a sick piece of shit." Yeah, like he's like looking at it as if he's yelling at the guy right there.
Yeah.
You can see how he's more emotionally invested. So that's
Yep.
the little differences that we've seen. And on the TV show, obviously, yeah, Will is way more connected. It's almost like he's like a high functioning autistic.
Manic is probably the best word to describe it. He's very
It'd be
manic
both.
in his approach.
It'd be both because they do kind of allude to him having a touch of something on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Series. Yeah. They write out, they flat out say that he's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's in the books. I think that in the books, he's just considered, he has like a very like a active imagination, and he can put himself in the minds of these killers and stuff. And in this show, in the Manhunter they get into that more, which that's what I appreciate about Manhunter the most, is how they handle Will in that movie. And then the show. The show really delves into Will.
Yep. By the way, Jack Crawford is played by Harvey Keitel in Red Dragon. He's really good.
Yes, it's funny to see him as Jack Crawford though, Harvey Keitel.
Yeah. Again, we had Dennis Farina in Manhunter, and then Lawrence Fishburne on the TV series. All right, Fishburne, I absolutely love him. He's more manipulative of Will.
Yep.
On that, I'd say there's a little bit of manipulation on his part in Manhunter, but in Red Dragon, it feels like Harvey Keitel is like with us, the audience.
Yeah.
Like, almost like cheering on Will, and we're gonna, he's helping us catch this bad guy, whatever. They don't play up any kind of manipulation really on his part.
No, there's a little bit there, because he does say, don't run a game on me, Jack. He does say
there's a moment, but it's not like what we've seen on the show and then on Manhunter.
No, on the show the show is just another level. It goes into everything way deeper.
Yep.
And I gotta say, my favorite Jack Crawford is Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, he's just so freaking good.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's given a lot more too to his defense, so like he was able to really tell a proper story and flesh out that character. So but we'll see yet another Jack Crawford next week as well, though.
Yeah. So after Jack fills Will in on the details that Will didn't get from just like the newspapers, he gives him the photos and stuff like that, and fills him in on more details about how he's connected to the moon and the mirror shards and all that stuff. Gives them details that they kept out of the media. Will like hasn't said yes or not. So later, we have Molly and Jack having a conversation, and no, I'm sorry, not here. That doesn't happen here. Molly and Will are having a conversation, and she doesn't want him to go. She's like, Jack has the whole government. Why does he need you? And all this, and they have like a little bit of an argument. She's worried about him, but he's like, I have a chance to save some people. How can I turn that down?
Right.
Yeah. So he decides to go and help Jack, and later he says goodbye to Molly and Josh, and he's like, don't worry, it's just going to be a few days, a week maybe. I'll be back. And then. Yeah, so then he goes and checks out the Leeds house in Atlanta. That was the latest kill by this tooth fairy guy. And he goes around the house, and he notices a dog bed outside, and he goes, like, he talks into his recorder thing. Where's the dog? He's like, there's no mention of it in the case file. So he makes a note of that. and then he goes in and he's looking at the family photos on the fridge and on the wall, heading up to the stairs and everything. He gets into the master bedroom, and there's blood on the bed and on the wall behind the bed headboard thing. And yeah, he's talking into his recorder, explaining how it all went down, and he notices the smashed mirror. And he says into his recorder how it went down. He says the killer went into the room, in the dark, and he cut Mr. Lee's throat, and shoots Mrs. Lee's in the stomach as she's rising, and all that stuff. Like he goes into detail,
Right.
and then he says that the children are still in their beds, and so he says that this indicates he may use a silencer. And as he's walking towards the kids' rooms, he notices the blood marks on the carpets. And so, yeah, he's wondering, like, why were they dragged? And a difference of this movie and Manhunter in the show is that in Manhunter and in the show, Mr. Leeds got up holding his neck after he was after Tooth Fairy cut his neck, because he was going to, like, protect his kids,
Right.
and he was spraying all over the wall.
Yep. He collapsed in the hallway before getting to the kids.
Yep. They didn't put that in this one. It's not really a big thing. I just noticed that was different.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it gives a little bit. I mean, because you want to hear at least that he had a little more fight in him before he went.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just to kind of move the story along a little bit more.
So tell us, Vinny, him fighting, does that make you feel good? Does it make you feel like that perhaps you could be the protector, that you could be in that situation and you could do things differently? Have you placed yourself in that position, Vinny? Have you thought about it?
No, because I was too busy putting mirrors in their eyes.
The other question I want to ask, in Manhunter, he does a lot of casing. So he's spying on these people before he even attacks. He's watching how everything works between the dog and the cat and everything else. Is that also included in this one as well?
Yep.
Yeah, you do find out. Yeah.
Yep, big time. Yeah, they get into they very much get into the method that Tooth Fairy uses. And yeah, all of that is the same.
Yeah.
Both movies, they do Tooth Fairy stuff exactly the same.
And I say on the show, they're even more thorough with it. On the Hannibal TV series?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of trying to contrast it.
Yeah, there's a lot more Dollarhide. Almost like we even have, like, there's a scene where you see him in the moonlight, covered in blood, like naked.
That is like, true.
Yeah, there's more of that, and we do see him, like, when he kind of breaks into the houses. Over here, we don't see that with those victims. On this show, they do kind of break it all down. How he uses the glass cutter when he comes in, all that.
Well, they definitely made mention of that in Manhunter, that he had the glass cutter. He also had, as I said, Manhunter, he had bolt cutters, because they had a lock originally on the garage door, I believe it was, and he was going to cut that, but they had changed the lock.
Yep.
So then instead of doing that, that's why he uses a glass cutter instead.
Yeah, that's in Red Dragon as well.
Yep. Those details are 1-to-1.
Yep.
Exactly the same. Yeah. Vinny, you're right. I think we see more, and we get more of Dollarhide's Tooth Fairy's psyche in the show.
Yeah.
I think that's just because we have more hours.
Oh, for sure.
To do that with.
Yeah. Which was still really good, because it gives you it fleshes out a whole lot more because
Mhm.
Manhunter almost feels like Cliff Note versions after seeing the series.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think that both movies should be seen, like all of the media should be seen, because
Right.
Manhunter definitely complements Red Dragon
Hmm.
and also the show. Like
Yep.
it you can tell that the show took elements of both.
Oh, of
Um
everything. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Oh
Now,
yeah.
and me personally, when it comes to a lot of these things, they don't. I don't think that every single aspect has to be completely fleshed out. Sometimes
Mhm.
having the question mark there makes it a
Mhm.
little bit more intriguing because
Mhm.
you're not getting all the answers right up front. I sometimes find
Yeah.
that to be a little bit more intriguing than to have
Mhm.
everything thrown on the plate and say, this is exactly all the reasons why. I
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
little bit of mystery in some of this stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
because really, this is not a horror
Mhm.
movie. Like none of these movies in this series are horror movies. They're all, psychological thrillers. And
Yeah,
with a
I agree.
psychological thriller,
Yeah.
the more questions that are left unanswered, the
Mhm.
more interesting the story winds up becoming. I
I'm
think.
glad
Mhm.
I'm glad you bring that up because there is something yet to point out. So in Manhunter, they leave a little bit more up in the air, and we're left, like the audience, left with a little bit more of a mystery behind all the motives,
Mhm.
the motivations of Dollarhide.
Yep.
In Red Dragon, it feels like it's almost like a recipe where we don't know shit about him. We start to learn more about him. Then by right before you get to the last act, we know everything about him, and now it's time to wrap up the story. Like
Yep.
it's a recipe. In the
Yep.
show, they flesh it out more. They give you more to chew on, and you really do get into the psyche of that character. And the twists that come are even bigger. Like it
Yeah.
feels like the storytelling, you could see how it evolves and how Hollywood kind of did its own thing. So Michael Mann had a very unique approach to what he wanted to do, and again, leave the audience a little bit more like you could start to put some of it together in your own head. Uh,
Yep.
you got the regular kind of Hollywood recipe for what we did on Red Dragon regarding that particular villain, and then the show is like, yeah, you get everything you want. You get the meat, potatoes, you get the whole 5-star meal. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And to Tommy's Tommy's thinking that we don't need everything handed to us. That's that's pretty much like that's what they did with Manhunter with Dollarhide, is they didn't give us every, like, we don't really need to know the motives behind everything, or why, his childhood and everything like that. We really don't need to know that stuff. We don't need to feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that is something that the show also left unanswered. They didn't go into his childhood. Only when they were doing that Freddie Lowndes bait article did they
Right.
make stuff up, but they were actually just pulling things out of their ass. Like they weren't
Oh yeah, yeah.
they didn't like delve into his actual childhood.
Hmm.
So that's something more similar to Manhunter that they did on the show than on Red Dragon.
Right. But you could see like the torment that he has on the show, like from
Mm-hmm.
what he's hearing in his head of whatever this beast is or whatever.
Yep.
But we do have those elements because you see like almost like all the old people when he's younger. Like they have some of that stuff in there, but like you said, it's not as necessary because I think if they went too far into it, you would start to get too sympathetic for the character.
Yeah.
And it'd be a bad approach because
Yeah.
like we're not supposed to like this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a risk you run. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
my issue with Hannibal Rising.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yes.
that they gave Hannibal kind of a little bit of a sympathetic story as to why he turned out the way he did.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a book behind the movie, and I know that
Mhm.
it's canon, but I feel like we really didn't need that in this universe. We don't need those kind of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies where they go too far with the explanation. I'll give another good example.
Mhm.
So with Jaws, do we really need an explanation why the shark is coming after the family?
No.
Does it really have to be, hey, you killed my husband or my baby, and I'm coming to kill you. They would really, really need that. No,
No.
this shark is just coming after them because it's coming after them. We don't need a big giant recipe of why it's coming after them.
Yeah.
There are some times where the why matters. I don't feel like it matters in this particular universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the why matters with Jaws.
Yeah. What motivates Bruce the shark?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny though, because Hollywood they're retarded like that.
Yeah. And Country Shape Media says, because he has the book, he says in the book Hannibal Rising, he's not as sympathetic as the movie portrays him. All right. Well, see,
Okay.
now this nails it down why I need to read the books.
Right. That's good to hear though.
Yeah, manliness, I agree. Current day movies do too much with villain sympathy. Sometimes we just need bad guys who are evil. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. It's
Like our government.
It's a simple formula, good versus evil. We don't need a sympathetic story.
Right. Yeah, the sympathetic part is coming from like the Will Graham side of things and
Yes.
what he endured in order to catch Hannibal and everything else. So
Yes, exactly.
and again, it's almost like it's by accident, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and that's
I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, we all know that Hollywood's favorite marching tune for all this stuff is "Sympathy for the Devil." So,
Yep. Yeah.
This is true.
Good song, but not a good movie tactic.
Right.
All right. So, yeah. So he goes through the house. He finishes up, and he's like, he says in his recorder, "Why did you put mirrors on their eyes?" So this is part of the mystery that Will needs to solve. And he's back at his hotel, and he's going through the crime scene photos and all that. And he's looking at the blood spatter on the side wall of the bedroom, because he was leaning by it when he was there at the house, and he couldn't figure out why it was there. And he's staring and all that stuff, and he kind of like he puts a picture down. He's kind of like he's getting tired, so he takes a drink and he kind of puts his face in his hand like to take a little break. And then the flash of the dolls that were on the dresser pops in his mind, and he figures it out that he needed an audience, that's what he did with the bodies, that he lined them up against the wall as an audience, because he want, and that's what the mirrors are for, so he could see himself in them. And so he's able to figure that out. And then he's watching, he's going through the evidence some more, and he remembers how there's like this talcum mark on Mrs. Leeds' inner thigh, and he figures it out in his mind that the killer removed his glove to touch her, and he's talking like, you took your gloves off and touched her, didn't you? And he's like calling him a bastard and all this stuff, and
beat for beat in Manhunter too.
What's that?
Oh yeah, beat for beat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Ancient One, hello, how are you?
What's up?
He says hello to everybody. He says, I finally seized the chance to attend. Well, I'm happy to see you here.
Yeah, welcome.
No, thank you all for joining. I hope that you're enjoying everything. Be sure to smash the heck out of that like button, or in this case, be sure to kill the like button.
Yes, and then serve it up as an appetizer at your next meal. All right, yeah. So he's figuring it all out with the evidence, and he calls Jack and tells him, look, I think he touched her with his bare hands. Look for prints off the body, and check for Mrs. Leeds' corneas for eye prints. For fingerprints on her eyes. So yeah, he did. So there's that, and then we are at, and I think it was Price showing a model of Tooth Fairy's teeth based on the bite marks on Mrs. Leeds, and and he's saying this to a group of people, a group of officers, and one of the officers says, "Effing shark," because his teeth are all like sharp and messed up.
Yeah.
And they all laugh, and the chief that's like heading the meeting, he's like he's not there to joke around. He calls Will up, and they're all kind of like in hushed tones saying, "Hey, he's the guy that got Lecter. I heard like he stabbed him and all this stuff." And yeah. So
it's Bill Dukes, by the way, the big black guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's from the Predator.
Oh.
No, he's not. He's from Car Wash.
He's also from that, but you can't say that he's not from Predator because he was. He was.
Hey, we're talking canon. He was in Car Wash first.
Alrighty.
Were we to connect everything again?
Hey, all these things can possibly be connected.
Yes.
Yep.
So after he left the car wash, he joined the military, and that's where he became Mac.
Yeah. Yep.
Mac. Sergeant. Sorry. Get back to this before we lose. We're off the rails completely.
All right, and so yeah, Will is talking to the officers about everything. He's like the women, all the whole family, both families, like all of the members were killed, but the main subjects were the women, Mrs. Leeds and Mrs. Jacoby, and he says like the rest of them, they were just killed to complete his fantasy. And they ask him like what the fantasy is, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the fantasy is, but he says like they're not. This guy's not out of control. Like this wasn't random. There's a connection.
Very deliberate.
Yeah. Yep. And he says this guy, he's gonna go on and on until we get smart or get lucky. And then one of the women officers asks, why not? Why won't he stop? And Will says, because it makes him God. Would you give that power up? And I like that they added that about God, because they do a lot of that in the show.
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering if that must be in the books as well.
Well, it makes sense. That was a scene with Hannibal talking about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He also brings it up. Yeah, because he could break down the psyche of the Tooth Fairy pretty easily and quickly.
Yeah.
But like I said, it does make sense too because of it's the theme of it. He believes the Great Red Dragon, the devil, is had taken over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Arnold did kill him in Commando. Bill Dukes.
All right.
Not the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, Steve, I'll message you. All right. And then so they discuss that more. And then he mentions the pets, and he says, check I think it's the Jacoby's yard. It's one of the yards. Check for the missing cat, like have them use a methane probe, because he kills the animals. And then Jack comes in and tells them that they found a partial on Mrs. Leeds' left eye, a partial thumbprint. So that's a victory there. Yeah. And then outside, we see the police commissioner addressing the press and everything, and Jack and Will are leaving, and Freddie Lowndes runs up, trying to talk to Will, and we can see that Will has absolutely no time for Freddie, and there's a difference in how Will handles Freddie Lowndes on Red Dragon and Manhunter. So on this. In Red Dragon, he's kind of like trying to ignore him and just just he's annoyed with him. He's just trying to.
But he pushes him up against one of the cars, like
he
grabbed him by his shirt and his jacket and kind of like in his face, like up in his grill. In Manhunter, it's more of a judo flip.
Yes, Yeah, it's hilarious. And it's totally earned. Freddie deserved that.
He's a terrible
Yeah,
character.
yeah. So in Red Dragon, he says, "You write lying shit, and the Tattler is an asswipe. Stay the fuck away from me." And then he and Jack walk away, and then Lounge goes, "How about an exclusive?" He's like never giving up on trying to get
Yeah.
an article out of Will.
Oh, he's just being a dick about it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love in Manhunter. He flips him over top the car.
Yeah.
Yes.
He breaks part of the windshield. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
There's
like,
a
surprise, motherfucker.
So that was in '86. So that was back when windshields were cracked, like the glass would actually crack and like shit, like shatter and fall in. Or did we already?
The safety glass, I think, was already installed by then.
Okay. Yeah, I always forget like when that happened.
It would depend on the model of the car too, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because kids are always getting the hand me downs that are getting older cars. So
Yeah.
Ancient One says that he bought pizza for the live chat to power up the live stream. Pizza power style. Who wants a slice? All right, Ancient One taking care of the chat. Thank you.
You got my number. It's a me. Pizza time. Sorry.
Yeah, so then so Jack and Will make it to this diner, and Will apologizes like for how he acted and everything. They're having a cup of coffee, and Will mentions, dude, that guy snuck up into my hospital and took pictures of me. Now in Manhunter, he mentions how they were inappropriate pictures. In Red Dragon, he just says, he just mentions the tubes, like how he took a picture of him with the tubes and everything. He doesn't mention that it was obscene.
Right, because we did see it on the in the Tattler in the scrapbook in the beginning.
Yep.
Of Red Dragon. You see Will all hooked up to everything.
Yep.
And for your knowledge on that, safety glass was first invented in 1934 and became standard in 1977.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. Way back then. All right.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, so they're talking and everything, and Will is basically downplaying like his ability, because Jack is like, we're gonna catch this guy, you figured out, about the print and all this stuff, and that with his teeth marks, we're gonna get him. And Will's downplaying. He's like, yeah, the evidence was already there. Anybody could have seen it. And Jack is like, yeah, but nobody else did. Only you did. Mm-hmm. And here you can see that Will is having trepidation about even being in on this. This invest.
Is it this point when Jack says that too? He's like, "Come on!" He goes, "You are the best. You caught all those other ones or whatever." And from the show, Abigail's father,
Garrett Jacob Hobbs.
Yeah, Jacob Hobbs. Yeah, because he brings up, you caught Garrett Jacob Hobbs, and he goes, not exactly, no. He goes, I had my help, and he's like, Lecter. Lecter's the one who helped me get him.
Yeah, and Jack is just kind of like staring at him, and then he says, well, maybe we've got a resource, we should look into it. And Will's like, is that what this has been about? You just wanted to ask me that the whole time? And Jack is like, don't get mad at me, I'm just doing my job. Mm-hmm. And he says, if you know a better shortcut, let me know. If you think he'll talk to me, I'll go do it myself. And he says, if you think you can't handle it, I'll understand that. And so in Manhunter, Jack is more apprehensive about Will going to see Lecter.
Right.
In Red Dragon, he's kind of like, we this is a resource we should use. Mm-hmm. So that's a difference.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Baltimore State Forensic Hospital, which is the I like to I like to call it Arkham Asylum. It's where Hannibal is, and Chilton says, as a research subject, Lecter is very disappointing. He's simply impenetrable to psych testing. And then he says Rorschach testing and all that stuff. And he reaches in his drawer and he pulls out how Lecter folded it into origami.
Yes.
And so he's annoyed by it, and he wants Will to like fill him in on any insights he gets from his visit with Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one thing that does play over very well, considering they didn't know what they were going to do with the Hannibal Lecter character by the time they come around to Silence of the Lambs. It really does follow the script how the original guy played it, as to what he winds up doing in Silence of the Lambs and all the movies moving forward. It's the same cadence, it's the same style of thinking and reasoning that Lecter uses in all of them. So, I mean, if you've never watched Manhunter, I don't see anybody getting disappointed watching this, because you're going to still feel like it's Hannibal Lecter, even though he doesn't look exactly the same. But then again, the Hannibal movie has a different actor as well. So,
yeah, oh, absolutely. Brian Cox did a fantastic job as Hannibal.
They did. Wait, what do you mean the Hannibal movie had a different actor?
That's not Hopkins.
In Hannibal?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not him.
No, it's him.
It's him. Yeah, it's
absolutely, 100%. The one that's not who they're supposed to be is Julianne Moore is playing Clarice in that one instead.
Yeah.
Of Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just older and heavier. That's Anthony Hopkins in Hannibal. But no, the one from the TV series, it's the same deal. It's like I didn't know when I first watched the show. I mean, I liked the actor, Mads Mikkelsen. I thought he did a really good job on that. When it first aired, I'm like, I didn't really know what to expect at all. I was willing to give it a chance because I know he was great from like the 007 movie. But same deal though. I think all three of these guys did a pretty damn great job. Brian Cox he probably got the shortest straw that was pulled though, just because it's a lot smaller of a role compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
But he still did a good job. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree with you on that, Tommy. That's for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't look anything like he does in the earlier films, and that's why I thought, I was like, God, is this somebody else?
Because he's older. Yeah. Yeah, it was a 10-year gap from Silence of the Lambs, I think, to Hannibal, and then was Red Dragon the last one? I forget. I gotta look it up again.
The Country Shape Media says, it's funny? Chucky the Killer Doll likes the Hannibal TV series too. Wait, so did you find that out? Is that from the Chucky series or is that from the movies? I don't remember that from the movies. But that's a funny little tidbit.
Huh. Hannibal was 2001. So yeah, it's 10 years from Silence of the Lambs. And then the following year was Red Dragon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting how they did it, because like they jumbled the whole order of them.
I know. That's why when I gave you a heart attack and I was like, I think we should watch them in release order, and you were like, no, we can't.
Yeah. Good. And now you see why, right? With the end of this one.
So wait a minute, where does Hannibal Rising fall?
Well, it's the prequel to everything. It's him in his younger, like as a child, and into his like early 20s. Right. So it's before everything. Mm-hmm. But we're not reviewing Hannibal. I mean, Hannibal Rising. We're gonna mention. Yeah. We're gonna mention a little bit about it because
there's just a couple of key things to take away from it. Because everything else, it almost feels like, how Trina was saying, you're more sympathetic towards him with like the
Yeah.
approach of what they did. It was a weird approach how they did it. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not
No.
necessarily, it's not needed.
I agree. It's kind of like this bonus. Like, hey, do you want to see Hannibal as like a younger, like when he was young? Like, well, it does give a backstory, but and that's kind of like the sticking point that I don't like is that it gives Hannibal a backstory that is almost sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, we'll get to that. We'll
It's
get
kind of
to,
like you remember your favorite Toon characters. Well, let's make them Tiny Toons.
yeah, yeah,
Kind of.
yeah, pretty much.
It's almost like certain characters, like in a comic book or something, like you didn't know their backstory, and it made it better. As soon as they started giving backstories, it kind of ruined everything. You know,
Yeah.
like Wolverine, you don't want to know. Like again, they ruined it when they did that type of shit. The Joker, you get all different versions, and now they're trying to stick with a certain one. It's like, no, leave it up in the air. We don't need to know every bit. The character is supposed to be that evil. Hannibal is the devil in human form, basically. That's kind of what he is. You know, he could see through people. He could read people. He manipulates them. He eats them. He's a psycho.
Yeah, that's like really that's all we need to know is I mean, because when we first meet him, he's an old man. We meet him in Silence of the Lambs. You know, he's a seasoned. He's already caught. He's a seasoned serial killer. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, technically, if you'd seen Manhunter before that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is true. Yeah, you're right about that. But even there, he's already caught, so he's already committed his crimes, and that movie doesn't make you want to know his backstory.
No.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. It feels so small of a role, kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because the main focus really is more on Will and the Tooth Fairy, or the Red Dragon, rather than because that's what I liked about how they did this one that we're reviewing, Red Dragon, is because we have more of the whole psychological thing, how it's all tied together, and it's the capture of him. The opening was so crucial. I felt like it maybe a little bit longer would have been good too.
But there is supposition in Manhunter leading to Hannibal having a bigger role and everything. They even mention it in Manhunter how the Tooth Fairy is writing him letters and he wants him to answer him in personal ads and everything like that. I mean, all that is in Manhunter too. So it's letting you know that the Hannibal character is a much bigger character than they're actually letting on in that movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is something there. There is something there. They're just not bashing you in the head with it.
Yeah, it is, and it's not so much that Red Dragon's bashing you in the head. It's because we already knew who the character is from the other movies. So to tie it a little bit more in, and it gives more to it. So like when we get to the Francis Dollarhide stuff and how he's really emulating and loving, you know, he's a fanboy of Hannibal. Like it has more weight to it than when we saw in Manhunter, because in Manhunter, like, we really are going in blind to that whole thing.
I mean, to be fair, and let's play a Hannibal advocate here. If you look at Silence of the Lambs as it is, without the ending scene, how much of an impact really is Hannibal making in the entire movie as opposed to the killer itself? It's really only the end of the film where you really see the depravity of that character that makes him stand out a lot more, and all his scenes throughout the movie seem to mean a little bit more. Without that ending, I don't think Hannibal comes across as that big of a player in Silence of the Lambs. And I think the same thing could be said about Manhunter and possibly even, you know, whatever that they were originally going to do with Red Dragon or what they did, which, once again, if I ever get a chance to see it, thank you, streaming services. You suck.
Oh, you've never seen it at all?
No, I've never had the chance to see it. When it was on HBO Max, there was other things I was trying to watch at the time, so I didn't watch that. I mean,
well, the only argument I'll say to the Silence of the Lambs thing that you mentioned was that I think with the buildup that they had for him, there was way more weight, and then especially seeing his escape, we know how completely dangerous he is at that point. He becomes a bigger threat than the main killer in Silence of the Lambs. So it's that he's on the loose is like the biggest thing, and it's not the very end scene. It's his escape, which is really crucial. I think that's why the devil is out again amongst us, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That build up to that scene where he's destroying all those guards. I mean, that's the point where it brings all that together. And without that, imagine if they had ended the movie just like that, and they waited to do him escaping in another movie. Would the payoff would it have been as big without that scene?
Oh, I don't think it would have happened.
No.
No, that's crucial to the whole story. So that's we'll get into more of that next week. But it's it's a central kind of thing about that whole movie.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to discuss. Well, we're covering it next week, so we'll have a lot to discuss as far thoughts on Hannibal's role in Silence of the Lambs, because I see what Tommy's saying, and I do agree a lot. And I think the only thing I'll add to that is I think that that last bit, what happened, is what made the audience, the fans, want more of Hannibal, which is how we got so much more of Hannibal.
Right.
But up to that point, and there was a significant amount of movie up to that point where we didn't really see the depravity of Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
So Okay. So Will goes and visits Hannibal, and before he does that, we see Chilton hounding him, like, please, he's like begging for info. He wants to publish a book, is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he's just, you can see how much of a worm he is in this movie.
Yep. I'm so happy they brought that same actor back from Silence of the Lambs. It's the same Chilton, so they did a good job with that.
Yep. Yeah, he is a good actor. He does a good Chilton. Mm-hmm. So he goes to see Hannibal, and Hannibal, just like in Manhunter, smells the colognes. First thing he does, and so he remarks on it, and they have a bit of a conversation. And Hannibal's like, they won't give me your home address, and he actually mentions this a few times, that he wants Will's home address.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this exchange, Will kind of plays on his vanity. He mentions the article he wrote for, I can't remember what it was for, but Hannibal is the Journal of Forensic Psychiatry, and Hannibal's wanting to know, what did you think of the article? His opinion actually matters to him. Mm-hmm. So his ego, he's very much he needs his ego fed all the time.
Yep.
And so they're talking, and then Will says, I need your advice, and Hannibal, you can tell that he already knows why Will is there. Mm-hmm. And he mentions Birmingham and Atlanta. You want to know how he's choosing them. So he's read the articles and everything. And Hannibal's like, well, why should I help you? And Will's like, well, there are things that, you don't have, I can give you. He's like, research materials, maybe even computer access, stuff like that. And he says, I'll have to speak to the chief of staff on it. And Hannibal's like, yes, Dr. Chilton. Gruesome, isn't he? He fumbles at your head like a freshman pulling at panties. And I love that, because it's such an apt way of describing Chilton.
Yeah. It's excellent. It's as if he's like a child to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he says, if you recall, Will, our last collaboration ended rather messily. And
rather messily.
Yeah, I love the way he talks.
Very unique. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, you get to file on this case, and there's another reason, and Hannibal's like, I'm all ears. And Will says, I thought you might enjoy the challenge, find out if you're smarter than the person I'm looking for. So he knows how to get to Hannibal's ego.
Yep.
And Hannibal approaches the glass when he says this, and he says, then by implication, you think you're smarter than I am since you caught me. And Will says, no, I don't think I'm smarter than you. And Hannibal says, then how did you catch me? And Will says, well, you had disadvantages. And Hannibal says, what disadvantages? And Will says, you're insane.
Mm-hmm.
And
the
Hannibal,
look he gives him is great.
Yes. Yeah. And Hannibal remarks how he looks tanned and his hands are rough, and that his shaving lotion has smells like it has a little ship on the bottle, like something a child would select.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that because that's just like Manhunter.
Oh yeah.
And
there is one other thing that they did change a little bit.
what's that?
So I did notice the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
So in the remake, he's got like a blacked out ink all over his back,
Mm-hmm.
where in Manhunter he has a big giant colored red dragon on his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. The chest, I believe, is incorrect. It's supposed to be on the back.
Is that
what it has in the book?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask.
Because even in the show, we get it on the back as well.
Yeah, that's why I want to read the books, because I want to know for sure.
Yeah, but I would assume, and this is just
Mm-hmm.
conjecture on this one, since it's supposed to be a red dragon, wouldn't it make more sense for it to be colored in and not just black?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because it was more tribal looking ish.
Well, I'll pull up a picture of Blake's red dragon.
Yeah.
All right, let me see.
I find the funniest things to bring up, don't I?
No.
These are.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are good observations. I'm looking for a good one. All right, this one looks kind of dusty, but here, let me show this. Okay, so that's what the dragon looks like. That's what William Blake's painting looks like.
That's one of them. He had done a series of them. Yeah, the famous one, the one that's in the movie and everything, is take this by itself. Here, I'll present. So yeah, this is the one that they were using in the movies.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So the woman is
she's
in front of him instead of. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it would make more sense that it's the tattoo on the back, because that's the dragon is coming out of his back.
Yeah, the wings and all that.
Yeah. And then you got the tail and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is wild. Yeah, they did a good job, I think, on the TV show too, when they did that whole scene.
Yeah, TV show tattoo looks good. I think it looks the best.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Country Shape Media says, I looked it up in the Red Dragon book. It says the Red Dragon tattoo is on Dollarhide's back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks for the confirmation.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So then so what Will says, kind of aggravates him. He gets up to the glass and he remarks about how, his shave lotion, all that stuff, and and he says, "How is young Josh and lovely Molly? They're always in my thoughts, you know." And he's trying to like scare Will, and
Yep.
then he says, "You will not persuade me with appeals to my intellectual vanity." And Will says, "I don't think I'll persuade you at all. You'll either do it or you won't." And Hannibal says, "Is that the case file with photos?" And Will says, "Yes." And he says, let me keep them, and I might consider it." And Will says, "No." And Hannibal says, "Do you dream much, Will?" And Will says, "Goodbye, Dr. Lecter." And he starts to walk away. And Hannibal says, "You haven't threatened to take my books yet." And he said, and then he says, "Give me the file then, and I'll tell you what I think. I need 1 hour and some privacy."
Yeah.
So
He needs his entertainment, because that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, Will was literally walking out. He's like, "All right, yeah, right. Give me the damn stuff."
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, so Will gives him his privacy, and then he goes back down, and I can only imagine what he needed privacy for. So yeah, he goes back down, and then and yeah, Hannibal says that this is a very shy boy. I'd love to meet him sometime. And he mentions how he, you know, the smashing mirrors, but he smashes like not just enough to get the shards to put over the victim's eyes. Like he's smashing mirrors, like it's more than that. It's not just that. And he says, like, have you thought about the possibility that he could be disfigured and all this? And Will's like, oh yeah, you know, that's interesting. And Hannibal's like, no, it's not. You've already thought of this. And Will's like, oh yeah, I thought of the possibility. Yeah. And then he asks about the victims' yards, and Will tells him about how they have big backyards with fences and hedges, and asks why. And Hannibal says that this pilgrim, as he likes to call him, has a relationship with the moon, and so he might like to go outside and look at it. And you know, if you would want privacy to do that. And he says, have you ever seen blood in the moonlight? It appears quite black. And that's conversation word for word in the show, Manhunter, and this movie.
Yep.
So I love that.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And he says, are the yards, you know, a factor in how he selects his victims? And Hannibal says yes, and says that there are going to be many more victims. And Hannibal asks if he'll be wanting more of these chin wags, and Will says, well, I might not have time. And Hannibal says, I do. I have oodles.
Mm-hmm.
And Will says, I need your opinion now. And Hannibal says, then here's one. You stink of fear under that cheap lotion. You stink of fear, but you're not a coward. You fear me, but still you came here. You fear the shy boy, but you still seek him out. Don't you understand, Will? You caught me because we're very much alike. Without our imaginations, we'd be like all the other dullards out there. Fear is the price of our instrument, but I can help you bear it. I love that.
It was really good writing there.
It was that they definitely took inspiration for the show from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love that. And here's a little bit of a difference. So Will leaves, you know, the asylum, and outside we see Freddie Lowndes and a passenger in the car taking pics of Will. Now in Manhunter, it's just Freddie Lowndes snapping pics, and Will is coming out, and he's like dizzy, and like the visit really did a toll on him, and he's like catching his breath and everything, and he needs like a moment to like steel himself. They don't show that in Red Dragon, though. They don't show the effect that Hannibal had on him.
Right.
So I do like that about Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Will calling Jack from a payphone, and Jack is asking him if he's okay, and you know, all of that. And Will says yes, and Jack asks, what did he mean by, because Will tells him what he said, and Jack's like, what does he mean by all that? And Will says, I don't know. It's hard to sweat through all of his bullshit. And then he says, I'm going to take another look at the Leeds house.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because Hannibal likes to talk in riddles all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's part of that thing with his ego and his narcissism. He's the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
To the character's credit, most times he is.
I mean, yeah. He is.
Well, that is because we are the necessary evil that we have to be for you to be able to live your every single day life. Because without us, what meaning does your life really have without our evil, our necessary evil? We give you purpose. Yeah, remember that.
That's how they do.
Why you still have all your toes.
For now. So we see Will goes to Leeds' house, and he actually finds a family home video there, and he watches it. And then he goes to the Jacoby's house, and he's like going around. He goes into the woods behind the house, and like near a tree, he finds. So this is a little bit different. So near a tree in Red Dragon, he finds one of those pull tabs to a soda can. In Manhunter, he finds a Mars bars wrapper. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a funny little difference. And also he finds a freshly cut branch off a tree. So he looks up and he decides to climb the tree, and he stops at the crotch in the tree, and he sits there and he sees that he has a clear view of like the backyard where they buried the cat, and also a clear view of the house. Like it's a perfect spot. So he knows, he knows that Tooth Fairy's been there, and he also finds that symbol that we see on the mahjong pieces, mm-hmm. Which is the Chinese symbol for Red Dragon.
Right.
In Manhunter, another thing to do is there's also a tire swing.
Yep.
And he climbs the rope until he gets to the Y of the tree. And
yes.
It's basically the same scene playing out, mm-hmm. except it's just a little bit more convenient with the rope.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, how did he climb that tree without any kind of like, because when we see the tree, there are no like lower branches to grab onto. Yeah. So the tire swing being there makes more sense. He can climb the rope.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just minor details. But yeah,
that Michael Mann being a great director.
Yeah.
Because he pays attention to those little things, man. It's cool.
Yeah. And he's talking. He's like, "You sat right here, didn't you?" And we see the camera pan down into the yard where the cat was buried, because there's like that caution tape around that little pet grave. And he's like talking to Tooth Fairy, but Tooth Fairy's not there. Mm-hmm. And then he says about that little insignia on the tree, he says, "You're proud. You had to sign your work." And then we see Dollarhide Nursing Home. And from the outside, it looks like this dilapidated place, but it's a huge estate. Mm-hmm. And inside, we hear the voice of a young boy saying, "Grandma, I'm sorry." And then we hear Grandma's voice, "Francis, I've never seen a child as dirty and disgusting as you. Look at you. You're soaking wet. Get out of my bed." And the boy's like, No, Grandma, no. And Grandma goes, "Go up to your room." And as the little boy voice goes, "Grandma, you're hurting me." And Grandma says, "Shut up, you filthy little beast. I should have put you in an orphanage, grandson or not." And then we hear more of a grown male voice, and it says, "Grandma, don't hurt me. You're hurting me." And Grandma goes, "Into the bathroom. Take off your nightshirt and wipe yourself off. Hurry up. Now give me my scissors from my medicine chest." And we hear older Dollarhide, say, please, no, Grandma. And she says, take that filthy thing in your hand and stretch it out. And he goes, no, Grandma, Grandma, no. And Grandma says, now. And she says, look down. Do you want me to cut it off? And Dollarhide goes, no, Grandma. And Grandma says, I pledge you my word, Francis. If you ever make your bed dirty again, I'll cut it off. Do you understand? And Dollarhide says, I'll be a good boy, I promise. And this is the sympathetic backstory for Dollarhide that we didn't really need.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have left that out.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they didn't include that in the show, and they didn't include that in Manhunter. And, yeah. So I don't know about that. I mean, it does add more to it.
It does. It gives you a little bit extra, but like you said, was it really necessary? Because I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, to paint a picture, because they didn't give this movie as much length time as they did Manhunter. So like they want to get a little bit more in there, I guess. So you understand where the character is sort of coming from. Not so much that he's sympathetic, but what's kind of part of that psychological drive of what's screwing him up.
Yeah.
You know, so it sort of makes sense. I mean, honestly, I'm with you. I don't think it was super crucial and necessary, but for how Hollywood wants to dumb down things for their regular audience, like, I get it.
I kind of feel like we didn't need to know what drove Dollarhide to do what he's doing. I don't know. It just because like.
I was going to say, to me, it almost feels like the trivialization of what they're doing. By saying, oh, well, there's an excuse for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got to kind of feel bad for the guy because he was tortured. And, well, that is true, that a lot of killers and stuff aren't born, they are made.
Mm-hmm.
That works if you're delving into the psychology of Dollarhide, but that's not what this movie is doing. We're just catching him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And okay, so yeah, and so we see Dollarhide, he's lifting weights, and he is he's supposed to be a muscular guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got that nylon thing over his face. And
it's the partial one that it's just like the nose up.
Yep. And he goes to the mirror, and he lifts the nylon up, and he takes the dentures out of a cup and puts them in. And and I think they're are they his grandmother's dentures? I don't know.
I think he has a couple sets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be a modified version of his grandmother's.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems weird. So he goes and opens his giant it's like it's one of those standing gun safes, like I don't know, 6 feet high or whatever. And there's his giant scrap journal that he keeps in there. He brings it out and he opens it, in the first page as you open it says, "Behold a great red dragon." And then he opens it to the latest page, which is the Tatler article, and it says, "Insane fiend consulted on tooth fairy murders." And it's a picture of Will exiting the hospital when he went to see Lecter, and everything. And we see, like, he X's out because this is where we see that he's referred to as tooth fairy, like in print, and he X's that out. He's like crossing it out. He hates that, and he kind of does.
It's also important to point out that he X's out with red ink to signify red dragon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Big, red
that
marker.
is something since I couldn't watch the movie, I did catch a few clips here and there of it, and I did see that one, and that's a pretty important note to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And he circles Freddie Lowndes and he crosses out his face too.
Yeah, puts a red line through it, like this one's going to be eliminated.
Yeah.
And it also kind of reminded me of like when you're a kid in elementary school, and like if you get an answer wrong, there's like they do it in red ink.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that too. Like I wonder if it, like some parallels there. But yeah. So we see that, and then we see Will visit Hannibal again, and Hannibal is connected to like this. They set him up with this exercise thing where he's got his hands are bound behind his back, and he's like, he's chained to. He's like he's on a cord which is connected to this
Like
thing.
rail system thing.
Yeah, like this rail thing, like kind of like you see dogs on these things, like outside
Sort of.
sometimes.
Yeah.
These runners.
And it's a big circle. And
Yep. Yeah, there's a circle, and like there's a boundary on the floor that says "Do not cross."
Yep.
And as he approaches, like as Will approaches, Hannibal walks over and he kind of like he lunges at Will, and Will doesn't flinch though, and Hannibal's like, "Yeah, see, now that's mastering the fear that I was talking about." And so yeah, they talk some more, and he's like, "So nice of you to visit again." And so he's there to ask what Hannibal thinks of the red dragon symbol, the Chinese symbol, and also about the bolt cutter. Like, why did Dollarhide bring the bolt cutter with him? He's like, well, he used it to cut a branch off, but that can't be why, because those things are heavy, and he had to carry them, a long way and up the tree. Like that, something isn't right. And yeah, so we find out that the Asian studies at Langley said that symbol is the red dragon, which is also an Mahjong piece. And Hannibal says red dragon, correct. So he already knew that answer.
Yep.
And he says to Will, "This boy begins to interest me." And yeah, and Will's like, "I thought he brought the bolt cutters along to break in, but he didn't. He used the patio door, which alarmed Mr. Jacoby, so he had to shoot him. So, he panicked, and Hannibal says, well, we can't judge him too harshly. It was his first kill. Haven't you ever felt a sudden rush of panic? And this is when he lunges at Will, and he can't, though he's restrained, and Will looks up, and there's a guard with a rifle there watching, and he's like he knows he's safe. Hannibal's like, it was only his first time. He already did better on his second kill in Atlanta, and he's like, this one's going to give you plenty of exercise. And he goes, my love to Molly and Josh, as Will is leaving, and I think he asks about his phone number again, and then in Hannibal's cell later, they give him his phone to call his lawyer, and when he picks up the receiver, so this is an old style phone, and when he picks up the receiver, he plays with the little prongs that, how do you describe them? There's the two prongs.
Yeah, when you go to like hang up the phone, that's it keeps it off. But it's almost like Morse code almost kind of thing. It's a code basically, is how he's getting like the operator or whatnot.
Yeah, well, on old phones, if you press those a certain way, you could dial a number that way.
Right.
And that's how he's able to call out. And then
just to add, once again, that they did the exact same thing in Manhunter, because he calls out and he not only gets his number, he gets his address.
Yep. He makes a call to the university where Dr. Bloom is at, and it's Sidney Bloom. So in these movies, Dr. Bloom is male. In the show, it's Alana Bloom, female. Yep. But he said that he's Bob Greer from Blaine and Edwards Publishing, and that he he's supposed to get a book to Will Graham, but he wasn't given the address, and he gets the, in his sweet talking way, he gets the secretary who's covering for the regular secretary to give him Will's home address.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so he gets that, and yeah, and he says, if he says to her, "I'll dance at your wedding if you give me the address," and he says that in the show too.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this one, he gets the PO box and the city, in Marathon, Florida. He doesn't get the full address, but in Manhunter, he gets the full one.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think on the show he gets the full one too on that.
Yes, I think he does. He gets the full address.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and during Will and Hannibal's meeting, Hannibal mentions red breast in a cage. He says a robin, red breast in a cage puts all heaven in a rage, and it's a poem or a quote by Robert Blake in his Audreys of Innocence book, I think it is. And so he goes to the library and he asks the girl about it, and she hooks him up with that, and she says, "I have a book of his paintings too." So he takes that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees the red dragon painting, and then we see where Dollahide works, which is at a place called Chromolux. Mm-hmm. He goes in the dark room, and this is where we meet Reba. Yep. And in the way she tells him to walk in 3 steps until he feels tile under his feet, and everything is word for word like in the show.
Yep.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're Mr. D, head of tech services, right?" And everything. Yeah. So they talk, and he's looking for some film, and she asks what it's for, and he says that he's gonna be filming some nocturnal animals at the zoo, and she's like, "Oh, I love the zoo," and she goes to put the light on, and he sees that she's blind. Mm-hmm. And this matters to him because he can't stand to see himself.
Right.
And so he feels comfortable around her. And so he's staring at her, is really like enthralled with her. And then their coworker Ralph comes in, and he's kind of like trying to he's offering her a ride, but he's trying to be like, he's kind of trying to mac on her a bit.
Yeah. He's just coming off as this like a creepy douchebag.
A little, well, kind of. I mean, he's just trying. He's trying.
Yeah.
And
but he's making these faces, like winking at her and stuff, like, it's a Dollahide.
Yeah.
Like
and when he leaves.
He's being a shit.
Yeah, so she turns him down for the ride, and then as he's leaving, he gives like the thumbs up to Dollahide. He's like motioning to her. He's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he's
for it.
Yeah. And she's like, if there's one thing, she's like, I hate pity, but if there's one thing I hate more than that, she's like, it's fake pity.
Yeah.
And especially from a walking hard on like Ralph, and Dollahide says, I have no pity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know why.
Yeah. I have no pity.
Yeah, just like this flat, like monotone.
Yeah.
Not monotony, just monotone.
Yeah.
And
but
then
I gotta say, Ralph Fiennes does do a great job with this.
Yep.
Yeah, he does. He's pretty damn good as a character.
Yep, he's a great Dollahide. I think I like him. I like Fiennes as Dollahide better than the guy in Manhunter. Oh, who the hell?
Yeah, the one who played the Frankenstein in Monster Squad.
Yeah, Tom Noonan.
Tom Noonan, yeah.
Yeah.
He's still good. He's a different kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they both did a good job in their own regard, but I do like Fiennes better. You could see more torment in him.
Mm-hmm. Country Shade Media says, I remember Dollarhide eating one of the red dragon paintings. Did that happen, or am I confusing with something else? Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
That happened in this movie. They didn't put that in Manhunter.
Right, but they do have it in the show.
Yep, they have in the show and in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to mention that's one of the things omitted in the movie.
Yeah. Which is
and then-
kind of crucial.
Well,
I mean, it's part of what when we get to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we get to that part, we'll talk about it more. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it kind of is anyway because of what the reasoning why he even did it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So we see Dollarhide waiting in the van and staring at Reba. She's at her bus stop, and so he pulls up and offers her a ride. He's like, "Listen, Ralph is he's a get what he calls him, but he's like a fool or something like that. Ride with me, basically, make me happy. Ride with me, So she accepts the ride, and he takes her home. She invites him in and offers her, like she said, she's like, I'll make us drinks. And that's word for word, like the show as well, in the show as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so they talk, they're having a nice discussion. And she mentions, she's like, look, I can tell that you've had soft palate repair. And she's like, I have, a background in speech therapy from the blind institute that she taught at, and she's like, she's being nice to him. She's trying to make him feel comfortable.
Right.
And she's like, you don't have to feel uncomfortable around me. I know what it's like to, be thought of as different. And she goes to reach up to his face to touch him, and he stops her, and she's like, I just want to know if you're smiling or not. And he's like, trust me, I'm smiling. But he's not. He's not smiling. And
I like this scene better in this one than the other iterations, because it's not as, we'll put it this way. In the other ones, he just he yanks out her hand, like don't you dare touch my face kind of thing, but without saying it, like with his motioning and how we're seeing his face.
Yeah.
I think she would have been startled and kind of, she wouldn't be as curious about him anymore. And this one, it's a little more normal or realistic.
Yeah.
In the approach to it. So it's like, yeah, he didn't come off as intimidating because I don't think he should have anyway. Like I said, it kind of hurt the other movie in the show when they had him too forcefully doing it. Like that. I really offended you. Like, she was almost like scared in the other ones.
Yeah, to me in the show, he came across as like scared that like he was like really scared that she was gonna touch his face. Like, he is super sensitive about the way he looks, obviously. So why he smashes mirrors.
Right.
So it made sense to me, his reaction. But yeah, like, I think that would have kind of been a red flag to her in real life. So yeah, this one kind of makes a little more sense. Because I mean,
overall, the relationship angle that they did in this one, I think, was better than the other ones.
As I watched Manhunter earlier, I really didn't. He did come in, I wouldn't say overly forceful, but he did grab her hand as kind of like, I almost like he doesn't like being touched. I don't think it. I don't really think it came off as overly forceful, though. I mean, maybe that's just me. It didn't seem it.
Yeah, I agree, Tommy. I don't think it comes off as forceful. To me, he was more like, oh my God, no, don't touch my face.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is like her reaction would have been more like, like you said, red flag. Like something's really off with him.
It could have raised a red flag in her. But then again, she is blind, so she understands self-consciousness and stuff like that. So it works either way. But it's good either way, in my opinion. But so yeah, so then we have Will on the phone with Jack, who is informing him that they have found a note in Lecter's cell, and this note is written on toilet paper. So they were doing like they have Hannibal in a holding cell, and they're going to pretend like they're doing some maintenance on the cell so that Hannibal doesn't know that they know about the note.
Right.
And okay, so this note that he got is a note from Dollarhide. It's written on toilet paper, and they got. So in Manhunter, one of the orderlies brings it to Chilton. Chilton gets on the horn with Jack. In Red Dragon, Jack, we don't see that whole process. We just have Jack telling Will that they have a note.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just a little bit different. It's not a big difference. It's just a difference.
Right.
And
But they get more into it on Red Dragon of how they want to try to get, you know.
Yep.
Well, go ahead. You got the notes. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And yeah, so they're gonna they're gonna be processing it for evidence, but they have to make sure that it returns back to Hannibal's cell unmarked. Like they have to be super careful with it. Plus, it's toilet paper, so like any kind of moisture is gonna mess it up, you know.
Yeah, because this looks like it's one ply, the cheap shit.
Yeah, it's definitely one ply.
Yeah, so Chilton is being an extra dick to Lecter.
You're talking about that Dollar Tree toilet paper.
Yeah, or worse, because it was very transparent.
yeah, it's like tracing. It's like I think tracing paper would do a better job than this.
Yeah, right. You're gonna rip it.
Like, yeah, you just kind of touch it and it disintegrates.
Yeah, right.
But so as they're processing the evidence, we hear Dollarhide's voice narrating the words that are on the note. So they see that there's a section torn out of the note, and it's also been like where it's torn, it's been like written over in black felt marker, and but the note is written in ink, like just ballpoint pen ink. So they get the idea to like put it under infrared or some way to view it, to see beneath the felt tip marker, and see if they can see anything. So, but they do end up seeing the tips of 3 T's and 1 R, and they're trying to figure it out. And they're like, the Tadler has 3 T's and an R. And they're like, we know that our guy reads Tadler. And so, yeah, they put it together that the correspondence will be through the personal section in the Tadler.
Yep. They also picked up a hair and
the
teeth impression.
The teeth impression on the note. Yep. And so they do recover some evidence, and so they're putting the cell back together. And I like this. So as they're wheeling Hannibal back to his cell on that trolley thing.
Jack Crawford, Harvey Keitel's character, he was to buy time, like say that there's maintenance issues or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you send the guy down there like he's upset. Have him be vocal down the hallway.
Yeah.
And and when we see that scene, the guy's like, "Oh, everything's breaking down in this dump," or whatever, blah 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 blah, as he goes towards Hannibal's cell. So
yeah, they did it. They played it off well, and it would have been.
It was almost foolproof.
Yes, it was almost foolproof. But so as they're wheeling Hannibal back to his cell, because they don't allow him to walk or do anything on his own.
Right.
And they have that face cage thing on him. He notices one of the orderlies. So we see the orderly quickly put gloves in his pocket.
Yeah.
But
after putting the toilet paper back to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. They
put the mop, and he's like kind of going up the hallway as Hannibal's coming towards us.
Yeah, and he's mopping up the hallway like this is his cover. He's part of the maintenance crew.
Right.
But Hannibal's too smart for this because he glances to where the orderly is. He sees in his pocket the tips of the glove.
Yep.
so he knows what has just transpired.
Yeah. Maintenance isn't going to be wearing rubber gloves like that, like
No,
medical gloves. Like if he
no,
had like the big yellow ones or something, like you'd be like, okay, I kind of get it. If there was a mess
yeah,
coming out of the toilet or something, like, but
yep, exactly.
yeah,
But no, they, oh man, if only he had 1 second longer to put
yeah,
the gloves in his pocket all the way. But
yeah.
at
But
any rate,
Lecter
so
saw it, just the tip.
yeah, just the tip, exactly. So, but no one, he doesn't mention this. Nobody noticed this. We just see Hannibal notice the gloves, and that's it. They just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they intercept a letter sent by Lecter, and well, they say that a letter has come in, and it's addressed to Pilgrim, and Will says, Pilgrim, yeah, that's what he calls this guy, and he's like, you're beautiful, and all this stuff. Like he's saying flattering things to Tooth Fairy, and he's like, I offer 100 prayers for your safety, and you can find help. And writes a bunch of Bible passages. But as they're going through it, and I like this in Manhunter. So in Manhunter, they have reference manuals behind them on the table on the table behind them. So they turn around, open up the Bible, and I'm thinking, wow, this is definitely a sign of different times, because you don't see that anymore. They have a Bible right behind them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're flipping through the Bible in Manhunter, and they're like, there are no, like, these chapters don't go up this high. In Red Dragon, the guy who's examining the letter says, wait, no, this is bogus. He already knows the Bible, and says, wait, no, Galatians, this and that, they don't go up that high. So this is bogus. So they've got to decode this. And yeah, so they only have like 19 minutes before the Tattler's gonna publish this letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're scurrying, and the Asian agent that's there, I forget his name, seen him in a bunch of other stuff though.
Yeah. I
He's
think
worked.
he was in the X-Men 3 movie as well. He's one of those characters.
Okay, I think his last name is Young, or
It might be, yeah.
I can't
He did
remember.
some TV series, but I can't remember the names of those either.
I know.
But he's a pretty good actor. He's got a very unique, kind of distinctive looking face.
Yep. That's how I was able to recognize me. Like, yeah, he has a memorable face, but I'm not good with the names.
Yep.
So yeah, so he's like, how about he says the chemical name for it, but what they're referencing is like truth serum, and Will's like, no, that was tried on him, and when they did that, all he did was give a recipe for dip.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was great.
So they figure out that this code that he has written has to be, it has to be a book that is, from Lecter's cell, and they're like, oh, the Polaroids, they snapped pictures of the cell so they could put it back exactly how it was.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that Asian guy, he's off to decode it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Will and Jack talk about, like, what if we can't decode this in time? And Will's like, well, then let them run it. And Jack is like, well, what, well, Will says at least they'll encourage him to write again. And Jack goes, what if it encourages him to do more than just write? And Will is like, this is our best shot. Like, what else can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And this, yeah. So it's a bit of a faux pas because of what we find out the code says later on.
Yeah.
So that agent's name is on the movie is Lloyd. He's at the library. He goes to the Library of Congress trying to decode the letter, gathering all the books that were in Hannibal's cell.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up figuring it out. He calls Jack and he's like, I solved the code. And he says, he says that it gives Graham's home address, and Jack is like, what does the what does it say? And it says, save yourself, kill them all.
Yeah.
That's
No, that's
accurate.
not what it says. That's not what it says at all. It says, be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
More Ovaltine, please. Yeah. Oh my God, that dates me.
What you talking about, Willis? That's just they play that all the time. The Christmas Story.
Ovaltine.
Yeah.
My God.
I used to drink that shit too as a kid.
I never drank that. Ugh. Okay, so.
Well, they had like a chocolate flavor too, but whatever.
Yeah, I remember. I just, I didn't like that stuff.
Yeah, wasn't crazy about it. No.
So,
Give me some Tang sandwiches, please. No, okay.
I like
Quick.
Tang.
It had to be Nestle Quick.
Nestle Quick.
Yeah,
I didn't like
Nestle's-
that until I was an adult.
Yeah.
You
I always
I
hated
used
milk.
to love
Swiss
those metal cans with the little. You had to get the spoon to
Yep.
pop the top up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the Swiss Miss, the hot cocoa.
Oh yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah. But those metal tins, man, those are the best.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then Jack calls Will and tells him that the code's been broken. He's like, but listen, I've got it all taken care of. So stay on the phone with me while I tell you. And Will's like, what? And he tells Will, he's like, Lecter gave this guy your address.
Yeah.
So Will just drops the phone and runs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Molly is in bed, and like we hear like the doorknob clicking noise, and Molly wakes up, but it's just Josh.
Yeah.
It's just her son waking her
Or
up.
Kevin.
Or
Or
Kevin
Walter.
or Walter. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he had a 3-part name. It's Josh, Kevin, Walter,
Graham.
Graham.
Josh, Kevin, Walter, Graham. Well, in the show, it's just his girlfriend's son. It's not even his son.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how this kid has 3 different names. They had to have done that on purpose.
Probably, yeah.
They had to have. They were like, this movie gives them this Kevin. This movie names him Josh. Let's just name him Walter. I bet you, it's got to be something funny like that.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's just Josh. So, but then we see the cops roll. Are there? They take her and Josh to safety. And then we see Will and Molly sitting together, and Will's like, "You're safe. You and Josh are safe." So then we see Electra's cell being emptied completely,
Mm-hmm.
and Chilton is there in the cell.
All cocky and smiling.
Yeah. Yep. And Lecter, who can't stand Chilton, says, beneath the yellow folder, you'll find your rejection slip from the archives. It was brought to me by mistake. And he's like, sorry about that. I read it.
Yeah.
And Chilton is pissed, and he's like, I think we'll remove Dr. Lecter's toilet seat as well.
Yeah.
And I like this because this is what they did to him in the show.
Yeah. They removed the whole toilet. It was just a hole in the floor.
Yeah, I know. In the show, he's got like a Chinese toilet.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Squat down in that, Chief.
Country Shape Media might as well name the kid anybody. That way all the names are covered. Yeah. Seriously. Just call him Kid.
Right. Hey, Bucko.
Chief. And then
don't call him Pilgrim though.
Oh no, that name's reserved.
Yeah.
And then
another thing in Manhunter, technically they portray him as a stepfather.
Oh, did they? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, and Manhunter is technically portrayed as a stepfather.
Okay.
So I didn't get that because I was looking for that. I was wondering, and I was like, it's kind of ambiguous if he's a stepfather or father.
Mm-hmm.
But him and her are married, so I just figured that's his like they have that son together. I don't know.
I think it's kind of ambiguous too, because they almost make it look like there is a stepson, but then possibly a biological son too. It's kind of I think it's almost up in the air the way they had it.
I guess so. I mean, back then, so 86. I would probably. I guess it depends on what the book says because,
Yeah.
In Red Dragon, he's his father. In Manhunter, the boy does call him dad.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But in the show, it's just there's a baby mama situation there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. In the 1992 novel Red Dragon, which Manhunter is based on, Graham is a stepfather to Molly's son Willie.
Okay.
The
Willie.
film, however, depicts Kevin as his biological son. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Yep. So stepdad it is.
Yeah. See, Willie they gave away. They didn't want him anymore.
Yeah. We already have a will.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we'll just here. This is Josh.
Yeah.
Named
Or
after
Kevin
Will's,
or Walter.
named after all their grandfathers.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, well, Walter, closer to Will, I guess. I don't know. At any rate, so yeah. So
Kevin, Willie, Walter, Josh.
Yeah.
Great.
Kevin, yeah. All these guys, all these kids.
The third.
And then we see Will teaching Molly to shoot, which is important.
Yep. Gotta know how to shoot.
Yeah, bouncing all over the family tree, even out of the tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, that's why they put the tire swing in.
Yeah. Nice.
And that wasn't wise because the Red Dragon climbed it.
Yeah. So now that okay,
Yes,
so
we're all adults here.
yeah, well, we try.
You wouldn't have guessed it.
I try to keep this an adult. I try to keep our circle to being adults, but it's hard.
Yeah. Surprise, motherfucker.
So okay, so then Jack suggests given the Tooth Fairy a story using Freddie Lowndes to do it. And yeah, so this is the bait to draw him to Will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least if he's drawn to Will, he's staying away from Will's family.
Yep.
So he tells Lowndes what to write about Tooth Fairy, and he's totally like making vile stuff up about him, like he's sexually molesting the male victims and is a product of incest, and he's like, no wonder this creep's such a loser, huh?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then Jack tells him, like, he mouths to him, tell him we got it from Lecter, and he's like, yeah, this is a tip we got from Dr. Lecter, and says, yeah, Lecter was offended that a bottom feeder like Tooth Fairy would consider himself in the same league as him.
Yeah.
And we have the photographer taking pictures, and Jack says, make sure you get the name of the building in the picture there, because this is where they're at, this hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And so the story is the same in all three iterations, Manhunter, Red Dragon, and the show, but the scenery is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And in the show they do change the character. It's not Freddie Lowndes.
Yeah.
It's Chilton.
Yep. Yeah, they put Chilton in the picture instead of Lowndes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I don't know why they made that choice. Maybe they didn't want to kill a woman.
I think that's what it came down to, because she's not even. I don't even think she's in that scene. It's all Chilton. It's Chilton's in the show. It's Chilton's breakdown, his psychological breakdown of Red Dragon.
Well, Freddie is there to take down the story to publish it in Tattle Crime.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But they had Chilton be the one that, he was the one with the psychological profile on him that breaking the whole thing down, and that's why he was so proud of himself and all that.
Yep.
Because we always know that he loves the limelight.
Yep. And in this movie, it was Lowndes who loved the limelight.
Yes.
So he was proud to be taking that photo with Will.
Which, yes, in Manhunter and in Red Dragon, because that's the proper story, is that it was always Freddie Lounds.
Yep.
Yeah, because in the show, like, they literally they threw up Chilton as bait, and they all knew that they threw him up as bait. In these movies, they were trying to make Will the bait, and then we find out that he doesn't take the bait on that. He actually goes after and targets Freddie Lounds.
Yeah. So the plan is that Will's going to be all set up with Kevlar. They're going to have, like, he's going to have a tail. He's going to be fully covered. He'll be safe with all this because they expect Dollahide to come after him. Right. But that night we see Dollahide walking, and he walks up to the guy who loads the papers in his stand, and he's got the Tattle Crime rags there. And he's like, "You again? Wait till 4 a.m. till I open." And Dollahide tosses him money for the magazine, and then cuts the ribbon and takes a copy of it. And the guy's like, "I told you." And Dollahide stops and turns around and says, "What? Tell me what?" And it shows that he has the knife in his hand still.
Yeah.
And
Dollahide, he turned Puerto Rican for a second. "I'll stab you."
Yep. And then next morning, and we see Lowndes pulls into the Tadler parking garage he goes to pull in his spot, but there's a van parked there, and he gets out and he's like, "Do you see your effing name on that sign?" And then we see we know it's Dollahide in the van. Dollahide grabs him, and that's it. And the next we see Freddie wakes up, and he's in Dollarhide's house, and he's glued to an old-fashioned wheelchair, and he's just in his underwear. And he's like calling out. He's like, "Where am I? What am I doing here?" And he's like, "I work for the Tadler. They'll pay a good reward for me." And Dollahide asks, "You know who I am?" And Freddie's like, he's behind him, so he can't see him. And he's like, "No, I don't know who you are." And
I don't want to know, he says.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. He's like, I haven't seen your face, all that stuff. Dollahide says, "According to you, I'm a vicious, perverted sexual failure who's gonna go down in flames. Do you know who I am now?" And Freddie's like, "Yes." And then Dollahide asks if he's like, "Do you understand what I'm doing?" And Freddie says, "No, but I want to. I could make my readers understand as well." And Dollahide says, "I'm not a man. I started out as one, but each being that I change makes me more than a man, as you will witness." And Freddie's like, I don't need to see you. No, because Dollahide walks over to Freddie and wheels him over to face a projector screen, and he gets in front of Freddie, but Freddie has his eyes closed, like pinched closed, and he's like, "Open your eyes." And Freddie's like, "No, I don't want to open my eyes." And he's like, "Open your eyes or I'll staple your eyelids to your forehead." Yeah. And I like that they kept that the same in all 3 iterations.
Yep.
And
great.
Then
I think Rosie O'Donnell had to say that to a lot of her partners.
At any rate, and so Freddie opens his eyes, and
no jokes, fine.
Dollahide turns around, and he has his back facing Freddie, and he drops his gown, and he reveals his dragon tattoo, and he flexes and stuff, and Freddie's like, "Oh God, oh no, oh God."
It's a naked butt in front of him. He's like, "Ugh."
And I don't think that's what bothers him. I don't think that's on his mind right now. he's glued to the chair. He's
glued to the chair, and he's covered in fecal matter because one would have soiled themselves in that position,
or pee himself.
I'd say both. In his case, he's very overweight.
Yeah, we don't see soiled underwear though. This is in Vinny's imagination. Just so you know.
Shall we talk about the director?
No. And so then Freddie says, he's Yeah, he turns around and asks if, do you want to know what I am? And Freddy says, more than anything. And he's like, so Dollahide puts a robe on and turns a projector on, and shows slides of, the first thing he shows is of Blake's Great Red Dragon. And then he shows him like the victims before, during the change, and then he says, well, after the change, he calls him reborn, and he keeps saying, "Do you see? Do you see?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he asks him, "Why did you write lies?" And Freddy says, "Will Graham told me to lie." And he says, "Will you tell the truth now?" And Freddy says, "Yes, yes, I will." And he gets, so Dollhide's right like Adam and says, "I am the dragon, and you call me insane. You are privy to a great becoming, and you recognize nothing. You are an ant in the afterbirth. It is in your nature to do one thing correctly. Before me you rightly tremble, but fear is not what you owe me, Mr. Lowndes." And then he gets right in his face and says, "You owe me awe." And then he hands Freddy a note to read aloud as
Trina said the same thing to us right before the stream. You owe me all. Sorry.
And yeah, and then so and God damn it, Benny.
Sorry.
So then so he has them read this thing and he records them.
Yeah.
And then we don't see that part in Red Dragon though. We just see it after. And he says, "That's all, Mr. Lowndes. You did very well." And then Freddy's like, "So you let me go now?" And Dollahide says, "Soon." And he says, "There's one more way I can help you understand." And Freddy says, "I'm going to be fair from now on. You can trust me." And then after a moment,
Well, he says he wants to know more than anything to understand. Like,
yeah,
at that point, like he asked him already a couple of times. Like, he said, yeah. He's trying to play up to him, and yeah, he's they're not besties, and he learns that because Dollahide runs over him out of nowhere and then just bites off his lips.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross. But,
and then
I think on the show they did it way worse.
Yeah, they show him actually like the lips tearing off him.
Yeah, it's very graphic. The show is way more graphic than this movie. I'll say that much too.
Yep. So then we see the guard at there's like a little there's a guard at the parking garage, and he's there doing his thing, and he hears the squeals of the wheels actually we don't know what they are. We just hear like wheels squeaking, and he looks and we see a man rolling down the road in a wheelchair, and he's on fire.
He's doing his best impression of Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider in a wheelchair, literally. And he hits a car and tips over, and where he lands is right in front of the sign that says National Tattler.
Yep.
And he's still on fire.
That was great.
I loved that scene. That was so funny.
Yep.
So in the show, it's Chilton. He's on fire, and he's heading towards that fountain that's in front of the hotel.
Yeah, which is great. And he flies off into it, actually.
Yeah, he takes a flying leap. And then on Manhunter, it's very similar to Red Dragon.
Yep.
Except you get a close-up of the guard's face, like being like oh my God, what's going on? That kind of face.
Right.
And
in the show, the Chilton actually lives.
Yes, that's a difference too. So Chilton, so I think it's even more cruel because they've had Chilton live through the experience, and he has no lips, and he has to talk with just his teeth.
Yeah.
And it sounds so funny, and Jack's like, "Can you understand what he's saying?"
That was hilarious.
Oh my God. And I think that's even like a more cruel ending for Chilton. Like,
but again, it's Chilton, so who cares? And that's what I like on the show. They kind of like Jack was the same way. Like, yeah, you understand them? I don't understand them.
Yeah, like, do you know what he's saying?
Will's like, just he's translating for him.
Yeah.
It's a lot like what's his name? Jim Carrey from Fire
Oh
Marshal Bill.
yeah, Fire Marshal Bill. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, it's
Yeah. So
great.
then we're at the at the FBI, and we hear Freddie's voice narrating what Dollarhide made him recite on tape.
Yeah.
And he says, I've had a great privilege. I have seen with wonder and awe the strength of the great red dragon. He has helped me to understand his splendor, and now I want to serve him. Now I want to serve him. He knows you made me lie, Will Graham. Because I was forced to lie, he will be more merciful to me than to you. We oh yeah, and then we hear the attack on the tape. So this is funny because how can he be more merciful? He killed Freddie and he set him on fire and killed him.
Yep.
What? I don't.
Yeah, he has something even worse in store for Will.
Well, yeah. I don't
That's
know
why
what would.
that's the message he was sending to him. Like, I was being merciful to him. Wait until you get a load of me, bitch.
Yeah, so he's gonna suffer a lot before he
Yep.
dies.
Yep. Now in Manhunter, I don't remember if was it in all three or just one of them where he says that he names the spot on his spine where he's going to snap him in two.
No, that's just a show.
Oh, it was just a show. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I was curious. I didn't remember. Again, a little bit of the Mandela effect since we watched so much.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to keep it all straight.
I'm almost kind of relieved that we're done with the Will Graham situation after this.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot.
It is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then Will goes and sees Hannibal. Again, Hannibal's now sitting on the floor because he doesn't even have a mattress on his bed thing.
Yep.
And Hannibal congratulates him on how he disposed of Freddie Lowndes.
Yeah. He's leaning on the toilet during the scene.
I know. So gross.
His elbow just sitting up on the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. Will says, your cell looks bigger with no books in it.
Yeah.
And he asks Will if he enjoyed his first murder. Mm-hmm. And he taunts him some more by, he mentions Molly and Josh, and he says, Dollhide, first he kills the pet and then he kills the family, and he says, Freddie was your pet. Will says about his family, they're safe now. And Hannibal says, nobody's ever safe around you, Will.
Yeah.
And then he gets up and he says, nice work on that note, by the way. And here's where he lets on that he knows what they did with his cell and the note and everything.
Yep.
And Will asks what else was on the note, because remember there's a section cut out of the note, but Hannibal's not telling him, and Will says, put me next to him. That's what you want, isn't it? You want to help him succeed where you failed twice? Mm-hmm. He's like, give him the chance to kill me. And Hannibal's like, go on then. So this kind of intrigues him.
Yeah.
And he's like, seduce me with your wares. And so Will offers full restoration of his privileges and computer access to the AMA archives and all that. And Hannibal accepts and says, have you seen the Dragon by Blake? And Will's like, yeah, I've seen it. And Hannibal says, no, have you really seen it? Mm-hmm. It's about the man dragon, the transformation. His ugliness is transformed by power. And he tells Will, look for military training, extensive tattooing, cosmetic surgery to the face. And Will's like, I'm past all that. You know that. Mm-hmm. And he's like, give me what I need. How is he choosing the women? And Hannibal's like, I've already told you, but you didn't see. And Will's like, bullshit, no riddles, just tell me. And Hannibal says, no, it's your turn. I asked you before for a small courtesy, and you responded rudely. Before I tell you anything, you will make certain arrangements for me. And Will ask, what kind of arrangements? And Hannibal says that he wants dinner and a show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he misses his fine, his
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
elegance.
Yep. It's the little things in life.
Yep.
Yeah, he loves all that stuff. But yeah, yeah, this scene was good and the dialogue was good as well. And I like how he denies Will.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, no, you were, and again, that thing, but you were rude. He hates rudeness, and like in
Yes.
every iteration of the character, we are very well aware of that. The show, they really hammer that point in, which is even more fantastic, and doesn't bode well for the people that he's pissed off.
So
Yeah.
I want to just rewind ever so slightly for a second here. So I posed a question earlier about the victims because they said nine, two lived.
Mm-hmm.
I found out who the other one was.
Oh, who was it?
He shows up in Hannibal, Mason Verger.
Oh yeah,
Oh, Verger. Yeah.
that's right. There you go. Thanks, Tommy.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So then we see Dollarhide and Reba, and they he takes her to go see the tiger and everything, and it's sort of a date and everything, and they get back home, and he has some homework to do, and it's a videotape of his next family that he's working on, and he doesn't need to play the audio, so he's sitting on the couch watching it while she's there, and he gets aroused, and so they end up
Oh,
in bed
you
together.
skipped the whole part where he took it to the zoo and.
No, I mentioned that he took her to see the tiger.
Oh, you did. Oh, I forgot. Oh.
Yep. Yeah, he took her to see the tiger because she mentioned that she had seen a cougar when she was little, and before she lost her eyesight. So he took her to see the tiger,
Oh,
and he's actually sweet with her, and
yep.
and then they make it back home, and so they end up.
Another one, beat for beat, with
Yep.
Manhunter.
Yep.
Yeah. Although in this one, she actually fondles the damn tiger.
Well, yeah, but she can't see.
Yeah, but she knows she was grabbing though, and that's what he was looking at. So then when she has the same kind of scene later with him, I think that's what they were going for, that whole arousal shit.
Okay.
Because in the other movie, like, yeah, she
It's
just
not
goes down.
explicit in the movie that
No,
she
not
grabs
really.
him.
Yeah, but she definitely knows what she was grabbing, and that's why, because like they made a purpose to show his face, like when he's like his reaction. I like
Yeah.
in Manhunter better because we get she puts her hand by the mouth and the teeth, which is more dangerous,
And that's what they do on the show too.
Yeah, which makes a lot more sense because it's also the thing with his cleft palate, and because on the show, I think the show did it the best out of all three.
Yeah.
Even his reaction, like, oh my god, like that whole thing of it's both symbolic with him and his cleft palate, and then yet the danger that she's literally not even afraid of touching his canine. Like if he wakes up or sneezes, like her hand's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that made
Yeah.
more sense to me anyway. But
Yeah. And Country Shape Media says what puts Hannibal above the other villains in this world, aside from his manipulation and intelligence, is his love of fine things like the arts, music, and literature.
Yep.
Yep, that makes him unique.
Yeah, which we'll get into next week as well too, because Anthony Hopkins, he actually wrote the musical piece when he's in the jail cell before his escape.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
And then the next morning he wakes up and he sees that Reba is not there. So he searches around the house frantically, and he goes up to his attic. He goes into his safe. He gets the gun, and he looks at the pen, and he's like, no, I won't let you have her. She's nice, and stuff like that. And he holds the gun in his mouth like he's gonna, because he doesn't want to hurt Reba, but
Right.
then he stops and he says, "You're hurting me," and then
he's in torment in this scene. Yeah, he's grabbing his head, and like he's looking at her from the window, and you see she's like walking around this little like fountain thing that he has on his property there.
Yeah.
Like you can see how carefree she is and happy, and
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's like. That's where I think the sympathetic part comes from with that character, and it makes sense in that part of the story.
I
Yeah.
don't know. From what I'm hearing about that scene, I like the way they did it in Manhunter better. Makes a little bit more sense. So the guy brings her home,
Yeah.
and he's assuming that this guy and her have a thing going, and that's what
Yeah.
causes him to snap and go after her.
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, something like that's in here. No, this is still the first encounter when they first sleep together.
Yeah. So this part is left out of Manhunter. Um that
Oh,
wait.
that's right. Yeah, it was in the
No.
show.
Y-
No, in Manhunter,
No,
she
it's
blows him. She goes down on him.
no, we don't see that. We don't see that explicit. Do we? No,
It
I don't
wasn't
think
explicit. They shot it a little differently. It was a little more tasteful. The show is more you see it going right for him like that. But
but they don't.
in the movie, it's more like it's like the she's curled up on top of him and then she's moving downward.
Yeah.
So they definitely
That's how they did it in the show.
in the show she was just head in the lap immediately kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And that's in Manhunter.
I'm trying to remember the morning after in Manhunter. That's what I can't remember. Because I have the visuals from Red Dragon and the show in my head. I can't get Manhunter in my head of what happened when they woke up. I remember he drops her off home, but I don't recall like that bit before.
I remember in Manhunter, they're outside and they're like at the beach, and he says, "You look amazing," or something to that nature in the sun.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he says, "When will I see you again?" And she says something, "Well, I got stuff to do," or whatever. And then the next scene is him sitting outside of her home, and this other guy is walking up with her, and he touches her face. And then he loses it and he rips the upholstery in the side of the van, and he gets out and he's waiting in the bushes and he grabs the guy and kills him.
There was the miscommunication thing that he sees something that and there's a scene like that in here as well. But yeah, it's afterwards. This one they're showing like his torment of he's still doing bad shit and he's doing it on behalf of this red dragon, but yet now there's a bit of hope in his life that he doesn't want to lose, but he's gonna have to, because this is what leads him into, and this is where it veers off from Manhunter. This is why he goes to go look at the Blake painting in person, because he feels that if he destroys the Blake painting, he's going to be free of the red dragon. But on this show, it's more like he goes and he sees it and eats it, because he thinks it's part of him now, and he is becoming the red dragon even further. So that's where all three kind of veer off. So Manhunter, we don't even see this scene. In Red Dragon, it's to protect Reba, and then in the show, it's because he wants to merge more with the Red Dragon.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how they handled all three like that.
Yeah, and then
in Red Dragon, he comes back because he's in Brooklyn when he does this. Bob, sorry, yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get to when he returns, because when he returns is when it moves to the kind of the scene that Tommy's talking about.
Well, okay, so all right. Yeah, so in Red Dragon, so he brings her home, and she's like, "You seem different this morning," and he says that he has to go away, and she doesn't understand, so he tells her to get out, and she feels like he's just moody, like he's weird, and that's where that leaves off.
Right.
And then they get some more evidence and stuff, and then we see Hannibal enjoying the fancy meal that he requested, and Will and Jack watch the home movies together, some more information, and he figures out what the bolt cutters were for, and it's because that he had seen. So they figured out that there was a new door put in, and he figures out because of that that Dollarhide has seen the inside of the house. So they're thinking maybe this was like a service guy or whatever. So they have the FBI guys working on any recent service calls and stuff.
Mhm.
And then we see it cuts to Dollarhide going to view the red dragon painting where he eats the painting.
Yeah.
And
He blackjacks the woman who's showing it to him.
Yeah, he knocks
The
her out.
curator.
Another woman comes in like talking and notices what's going on, and he
Yeah.
knocks her out as well.
Yeah, I like that scene because he's like, we see him running straight at the camera, like towards her, which like it's us, like we're the viewer, we're in her position, which was funny.
Yep.
It was
So
funny and like fearful. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. Did he yell, "Just stop oil" before he ate it?
Just stop what?
Just stop oil,
Stop
because
oil?
it's an oil painting, isn't it?
No. It was I believe pencil and charcoal.
Oh yeah, you're right. They mentioned that on the show, I think.
Yeah.
All right, and so
Because it's a smaller. It's not as big as people might think. Yeah, it's maybe like what? Maybe like 11 by 14 ish.
yeah, that
Something
seemed
like
that's about the size of it.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
know
so
context of any context. Careful how you say those things.
11
okay,
by 14.
No, that it's not as big as people think.
Oh no! I was referring to the painting, not your size. Sorry.
Now
right.
you're picking on guinea pigs. You son of a bitch. Belonging to you.
Well, Indy's a big boy, so there you go.
Will figures out that that the thing they have in common are the family home videos, and so he looks on the back and he goes to Jack. It's Chromolux, and so that's different from in the show where Dollarhide and Reba work. It's Gateway in the show. In the movies, it's Chromolux. So they get on the plane.
Well,
They're
maybe
headed.
Gateway bought out Chromolux.
Could be, or yeah, I don't know. So Will and Jack are on the plane.
It's all owned by BlackRock. It's okay.
And they get a fax that that a guy attacked two women at the while viewing the Blake painting, and Will's like, "That's our guy," and yeah, so.
But they didn't understand why he left. He left both the women alive.
Yeah, Jack's
then,
like, well, why did he destroy the painting if he loves it, and why did he leave the women alive? And Will says maybe he's trying to stop.
Yeah.
And then we see Dollarhide outside Chromolux at night, and we see a woman going in, and he follows her in, and there he sees Will, so he knows something's up.
Yeah,
so he runs.
They're like in a manager's like office, but you could see like the glass partitions and all that. So that's why he was able to see him, and he recognized him from obviously the paper, the tagline, and all that. And yeah. He runs out, gets to his van. He's really upset, and he's going. It's got to be Reba. In his mind, he's going. It's got to be Reba. So he goes towards her place, and then.
And his boss is talking to Jack and Will, and they're giving him a description of who this could be. They mention facial disfigurement, and they're like, "That sounds like Francis Dollarhide." So
because they didn't want to give up their employees, and they're like, "This guy killed already a bunch of people. He's about to kill more. Like, are you going to help us or not?" And then that's when Will he gives us the description, and as he says the description, the husband and wife look at one another like, "Oh shit, that's Francis."
See, and I don't know, maybe it's just me because there's a lot of this is sleuthing on the part of Will. So in Manhunter, that's not even how he finds out about Dollarhide. He puts together clues about videotapes.
Yeah, well, he used the videotapes in this movie as well.
Yeah,
that's how he discovers who Dollarhide is to begin with, like in Manhunter at least. Because
in Manhunter, he figures out it's that company, and they're trying to go through their employees list. Over here, it's the same way. He finds out that it's that company, but he goes to the owners and he's trying to get the employee information. Like, we can't give you that information. You know, we have over 200 employees. That's going to break all kinds of things. You don't have a warrant, blah, blah, blah. So as they're saying it, he's like, listen, I'm just going to tell you the description of this guy. I need to know if any of this matches or rings a bell. And that's when he rolls off his age, his height, his weight, and the cleft palate and all that. And that's when he's like, and they're looking at one another like, that sounds like Francis. So, yeah.
Yeah. And to Tommy's point, yeah, that he relies more on the video. It's more that he gathers clues from the videos in Manhunter, whereas in Red Dragon, there's a lot of, like, well, Tommy says sleuthing. That's a perfect word for it.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting together a lot more clues, external clues in Red Dragon than he does in Manhunter.
Right.
So that's a little bit different.
Yeah. I'd say just a touch, but I mean, it's along the same vein because it's similar. Yeah, because it is the main thing of the place itself that that he narrowed it down, because of like you said, the whole thing with the bolt cutters and the glass cutter that he used. So it's because he obviously that's how he put it together. Is like, Francis saw this place like a couple weeks prior, and they didn't yet have this new door. It was the old one that he needed the bolt cutters for.
Well, I think in Manhunter, he knew that he was blonde, and beyond that, he didn't know a whole lot about him. But it was almost, I would almost say, it was almost like premonition. So when they got those instant fax photos back from the police department that was doing all the legwork to send them photos, as soon as he seen the one to Dollarhide, it was this is our guy.
Yeah, the profile fit perfectly.
Yeah, well, they sent the picture and the profile, everything, the information, and he's like, "This is our guy." Like there wasn't like a full on description of him, other than
but there was the photo, and you can see the cleft palate as well. In Manhunter, there was the employee ID. That's what was faxed over when they were in the plane.
Mm-hmm.
So he when he saw the photo of him, that's how he knew right away.
Okay, and then Ralph, we see Ralph takes Reba home, and he warns her. He's like, "Listen, if Dollarhide is really that moody, maybe put some distance between you and him." And then he's like, he's leaving. And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going on vacation. I'll see you in 2 weeks." And then, and Dollarhide is watching from his van as this happens, and then he gets out. He rings her.
Well, he kisses her on the cheek. And
he kisses her on the cheek. Yeah.
Dollarhide,
and
then
he leaves.
From the back of their head, so it looks like oh, she's already onto a new guy. Yeah,
and as he's leaving, Dollarhide walks up and shoots him right in the forehead, like just boom, done. And then he rings her doorbell, and she's like, "Who is it?" And he's like, "It's me." And so he gets in. He ends up putting a rag over her mouth to make her inhale something that knocks her out, and gets her back to his place. Chloroform, yeah. And this is where it's different in Manhunter. In Manhunter, he's sitting outside. Dollarhide is sitting outside her house, and he's imagining Reba and Ralph having an intimate moment. And it's way more involved in Manhunter, and he reaches on his dash and rips it back when dashes were soft vinyl, and you could rip your dash. And so that's the difference in Manhunter.
Be gentle with your dash.
Yeah. And then back at his house, he wakes her up, and he's asking her, when you were here the other morning, did you take something? Did you wander around the house and take something and show somebody? And she's like, "What's going on?" She has no idea what he's talking about. And,
because in Dollarhide's position, when he went to New York to eat the painting and all that, he has no idea what the hell's going on. He doesn't know why Will was there. The only thing that he could put logically in his head is the only person who was in his house was Reba. So he automatically assumes that, yeah, she gave information to the feds.
Yeah,
Well,
and she has.
there's one other difference in Manhunter
Mhm.
and this. So when he hits the doorbell and she answers,
Mhm.
and she thinks it's the same guy again. I forget what his name is, and he says
Ralph.
no, and she's like Francis, and when she opens the
Yeah,
door and he says Francis is gone,
yeah,
Oh
hinting
yeah,
that what you knew that I
yeah,
was turning into is gone,
hmm
and this is what I am now.
yeah.
yeah,
The dragon is taking over.
yeah, yeah,
Which they all did a great job in all movies. Each of them. Like I was telling this to Trina as well. The one who played Reba in Manhunter, she was the mother from Pleasantville. I thought she was fantastic in Manhunter. She did a really good job because like the fear that she has because the Dollar Hide in that one, I think he torments her even more. Um, it's a different kind of torment, I think. Because well, anyway, yeah.
yeah,
Continue, and then we'll compare. Sorry.
yeah. No. Okay, so then yeah, so she doesn't know what he's talking about. She's like, what's going on? And he's like, shh, you're gonna, you're gonna wake him or something like that, or he'll hear you. And and he's like, I was wrong. You made me weak, and then you hurt me. And he starts pouring gas on the floor, and she's like, she's freaking out. She's starting to freak out, um, and then she's like, take me with you. Come on, let's get out of here. And he takes the gun and he tells her to reach out and feel it. He's like, do you know what this is? Do you know what it can do? And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, I wish I could have trusted you. I wanted to trust you. You felt so good. And she said, so did you, Dee. And she's like, please don't hurt me. She's like, she's like trying to make it so that he'll take her out of there. And he's like, it's all over for me. And he throws a lit match on the floor, which ignites the gas. The room lights up, and he says, I can't leave you to him. He'll bite you to death. And he's like, I can't let that happen. It's better if you go with me. And she's like, yes, take me with you. And he goes, I'll shoot you and then I'll shoot myself. And she's pleading. She's like freaking out, pleading, no, no.
Yeah.
And then
The terror in her face is wow. Yeah, that was some good acting.
Yep, very good. And she plays blind very well.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, she's the one that was in Equilibrium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the one that gets him to start to feel again.
Mm.
Speaking of which, did anybody catch manliness?
What's that?
What is love?
Oh,
Dollar High don't hurt me.
Nice.
Well, he's going to be rickrolling us soon too.
Yeah, so she's pleading, she's trying to save her life and everything, and he holds the gun at her, and he's like, I can't. And he cocks the gun. You hear a gunshot, and then you see blood splatter on her, and she's like screaming. She's freaking out, and she starts making. First, she is laying on the couch. Then she gets up and she starts making her way out by reciting the steps from the door. Because earlier in the movie she counts her steps around the house. That's how she remembers how to get around.
Yep.
So she makes her way out, and Will and Jack and all the local cops are all en route, and they pull up. They see the house is on fire. They make it there, and Will approaches her and asks, Francis Dollarhide, where is he? And she's like, he's in there. He set fire to the house. He shot himself. He was on the floor. And she's like recounting the tales like
I put my hand in him.
Yeah, she's like absolutely freaking out, telling the account of everything that happened. And then as Will starts making it towards the house explodes before Will can make it in. And then Will and Reba's in the hospital. Will's talking to her, and he's being very nice to her, reassuring her that, there's nothing wrong with you. because she's blaming himself. She's like, I should have known. And he's like, you this, don't blame yourself. And then he's like, the only thing wrong with you right now is your hair. Maybe do something about that. And like he's trying to like lighten the mood, like make her laugh. And I like that he handled her well like that.
Yeah, that human, the humanity that he brought there.
Yeah.
By the way, that house and that whole scene, this is where that thing was coming from. Where I used to say it a lot too. Where Dino De Laurentiis, that whole house belonged to this other family, and they were renting it out for this movie, and he wanted to buy the whole house because he goes, I want to blow it up, and they go, we're not going to let you blow up this house, and he goes, I give you money, we blow up the house. And it's ongoing jokes. It's from this movie, by the way. It's from that scene.
Nice.
Because they obviously used the model or something, and then they imposed it in there. Because they're like, no, it's a very old. It was like I think close to 200 years old or something. And he's like, yeah, we give you money, we blow up the house.
That's awesome. So outside of the hospital room, Jack shows Will Dollhide's scrapbook, and he opens it up to the page of a child's drawing of young Dollhide and his grandmother, and what filthy little beast is written on it, and it shows that he wet himself. It's basically his backstory.
Yep.
In one picture, and then we see Will is at home, and he and Molly in front of the fire, and
they're like at the end of a long pier.
Yeah, and he's telling her how when he read his journal, he couldn't help but feel bad for him because he wasn't born a monster. Years of abuse made him one. Then Josh runs up and is like, "Let's make s'mores." And so they're like, "Okay, go ahead and get some s'mores." And so he runs in the house, and then we see Jack getting a phone call at the FBI. The remains at the house didn't belong to Dollhide. They're from Ralph Mandy. They're Reba and Dollhide's co-worker.
Yeah. That no one looked for because he was on vacation for a week.
Yep. So no one missed him.
Yeah, that's why it was kind of delayed.
So then it cuts back to Will. Will's wondering what's taking Josh so long. And Molly's like, well, he takes 4 hours to get out of bed and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, but now I'm jonesing for marshmallows. So he goes in to look for Will, and as soon as he steps in the house, he looks over and sees a broken mirror.
Yep.
So he grabs a knife. He makes his way upstairs slowly, and sees the upstairs bathroom mirror smashed. And then he makes it to Josh's bedroom where Dollhide has him and has a mirror shard up to him. And tells Will to drop the knife, so Will drops it, and then Will notices that Josh has wet himself from being so scared, and so he starts like saying, like he's ridiculing him, saying you're a freak, you're disgusting, all this stuff, and he's tapping into Dollhide's childhood.
Yeah, because as he's doing it, Dollhide is lowering the knife away from his son, and how he's watching it all, like, what the fuck? You're verbally abusing your son. Like, you can see it in his head, and then he goes from "you're a filthy little beast," "you pissed yourself." He starts going off on him, and then he goes cleft palate. When he says that, Dollhide comes charging at Will. Yeah, so sorry.
It's not a knife though; it's a mirror shard.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's good. That's okay. And then he starts saying hair lip and stuff. So so we know he's not actually talking to Josh. He's talking to Dollhide. Yeah.
And that's what sets him off, though. It's like the last straw.
Yeah. He tosses Josh down to the floor.
Kevin.
Yeah. Or Walter. Yeah. And then and gets Josh and brings him to his bedroom, locks the door, and then he goes in his closet, gets the gun, and then he's waiting, like he's waiting for Dollarhide to like get into the room.
Yeah, because he has the angle, so as soon as he steps in, he can just blow his head off.
Yep. But everything goes silent, and then it's Molly coming up the stairs, and she's calling to them, and then he's so Will is pointing the gun at the door, and he says, "Molly, duck." So Molly,
He looks at the floor. Yeah,
he sees
Will.
her feet.
Yeah, he gets down on the floor and he sees like that gap between the floor and the door. Yeah, he sees her feet coming up, and then right behind you see Dollarhide's coming out from another room behind her. And then, that's when he goes, "Molly, get down," and she drops to the floor, and he starts shooting through the door.
Yeah, he shoots the door, and he gets a couple gets a few into Dollarhide, and
Dollarhide has a gun as well.
Yeah, Dollarhide gets a couple shots on Will as well. And then, but Dollarhide goes down, and Molly goes into the bedroom, and Will is on the floor. He's on his back. He's been shot. So, he tells, Molly gets the gun. He tells her to go, go finish the job. So she does that. She finishes it.
Yeah. She would shoot him, and she didn't understand. And then you see him like he's kind of lifting off the floor as well. And that's when she runs over and she shoots him in the head. The first shot got him, and then she puts like 3 more into his face.
Yep. Yeah. So she finishes a job. So it's a good thing that he taught her how to shoot.
Yep.
So then we see Lecter right.
I just wanted to say, personally, I know that that's how it's supposed to end in the book. That way. I personally think the Manhunter ending is better, quite honestly. I feel like that whole I'm going to fake my death and come after you kind of just, I don't know, almost kind of nauseating in a way.
The show did it the best, by the way.
I'd like to know what the canon is, like how it actually ends.
The book, from what I understand, the book it ends just like Red Dragon does. There's the fake, I shot myself, but I'm coming back at the end.
Yeah.
To get Will and his family. Manhunter, he just goes right out like a villain would, just toe to toe and gets put down.
I agree. I like that ending better. It makes more sense, and I love seeing Will jump through that window.
Yeah. And they use that for another character in the show.
In the show for a couple of characters.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
And then we see Lecter writing a letter to Will from his cell, and he says, "What a collection of scars you must have. Never forget who gave you the best of them, and be grateful. Our scars remind us of that the past was real. We live in a primitive time, don't we, Will? Neither savage nor wise. Half measures are the curse of it. A rational society would either kill me or put me to some use." And then he looks at the camera, and he says, "Do you dream much, Will? I think of you often. Your old friend Hannibal Lecter." And then it cuts to Will is on a boat, and he's reading the letter that Hannibal wrote to him. And he crumples up the note, throws it into the ocean, and sits next to Molly on the boat. And then the last scene of the movie is Chilton telling Hannibal that there's someone there to see him and wants to ask him a few questions. He says, "I said you'd probably refuse. It's a young woman, says she's from the FBI, though she's far too pretty if you ask me." And he says, "I'll tell you said no," and starts to walk off. And Hannibal says, "What is her name?" And then that's how it ends.
Yep.
And we know who it is.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That's what I loved about it, is that it goes straight into Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
So brilliant stuff right there.
Yeah.
And a great way to tie it all together.
There was another small crossover between Manhunter towards the end and Red Dragon. So you were talking about the little pier thing. So in the end of Manhunter, there is like a small pier where he's talking to the boy, and then he turns around to Molly. But that's how it ended, because obviously he already died in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dollarhide didn't make it out of the house. I don't know. I just really like that he just went out like a villain in that one, killed a
I
bunch of
do too.
cops and
Yeah.
everything else. I just
Yeah. This felt more like kind of what I said earlier, where it's like, we get all the info we need of the character, the shit that he tried to do. Okay, now we need to wrap it up with a bow.
Hmm.
It's very Hollywood the way that this one ended. But that's why I do like, Manhunter was good how they did that too. We take out the piece of shit. But the show, I really love how they did it on the show, because it wasn't just that. There was more to it, and more involvement with Hannibal directly as well. And because again, the show kind of it did its own thing. It incorporated all of the movies but left out Clarice. So we're just following Will Graham, and it's that whole journey of how he was working with Hannibal, how Hannibal gets pulled into all of it. Hannibal's supposed to be watching over him so that Will doesn't go back into a very awful state, so that he doesn't lose his mind again. But then the manipulation that he does, and how he sees him and what's going on, and how he can manipulate him, because he sees the same type of things that he does, but he's doing it in a different fashion because of the empathy that he has, whereas Hannibal doesn't have any whatsoever. And it's that whole psychological spin, which is really interesting. That's why I think, Tommy, you'd really enjoy aspects of the TV show for sure.
I think you are trying to psychoanalyze me a little bit too much, Vinny. Oh, there is one other small crossover in there in Manhunter and the other one. So when you're talking about the glass shard that he's holding to the boy's throat, in Manhunter one, he's actually holding that glass shard to Reba's neck instead.
Yep.
So the whole glass shard, mirror actually shard is not lost in that one either. It's still present, just done in a different way.
Yeah, they have to. They had to stick with mirrors, because that's the big thing with Dollarhide.
Yep.
He can't stand his own reflection, and the way he changes his victims. It's all about mirrors.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was awesome. I loved the comparison and contrasting of Manhunter, Red Dragon, and the show. The very, very awesome. Very awesome discussion.
For sure, yeah. This was a blast. Like I said, we finally put the Will Graham story to bed.
Yep.
It's been what, 3 months ish.
Yep.
So 3 months. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you guys for doing this with me. And yeah, if you want to let everybody know what you got going on, Tommy, you go ahead and go first.
I am here to psychoanalyze every last one of you, because I know that you are intrigued by what this guinea pig has to say, and what every guinea pig in this household has to say. But right now, Hannibal Stripe is speaking to you. You better watch yourself, because we will be coming for you if you don't pay us the proper respect, and we will be eating your toes with a little bit of fava beans and a nice Chianti. Beyond that, we're going to be having some fun on Thursday. Got some interesting stuff going on. The big long-winded discussion of Transformers went pretty well. We got another one coming up on G.I. Joe, so we're going to be doing that on Thursday as well. Also, I do have the last day of my eBay sale going up. So if anybody can reshare that eBay link out there and let more people know about it, it's there, that'd be cool. Otherwise, the thing is just going to restart, and it'll be another 7 days until hopefully that freaking sale generates. But other than that, that's about all we got going on. We're getting videos together so we can start getting regular content back up on the channel. Just fighting all the injuries as always, but still trying to have as much fun as we can, trying to hold our head up high, and we're trying not to let the demons take over. Awesome discussion. Thank you, everybody that was watching. Everybody's going to watch on the replay. Could have spent your time anywhere, but you chose to spend it here with us, people with a little bit of class. I hope that you will join me at my next dinner where we'll be having liver and brains. Have a good night, everybody.
Tommy, before you get going there, where's the link?
Yeah. Man, I'm
yeah,
trying. Man. I'm trying.
I went over to your to the Twitter. I'm trying to find where it is, but I don't see it.
Yeah, again, I didn't have a chance to post it on Twitter. That's what happened. I got tied up with all the other stuff that I was trying to sell. So,
all right. Yeah, as soon as you get it up, yeah, we'll start putting it out.
Yeah, and so, and anybody watching now or watching on the replay who is not subscribed to Tommy, it's Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective here on YouTube. If so, I'll amend the description to add your channel into it, and because Vinny, yours is in the description already.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to get the links in there.
Yeah, for sure.
There's the
okay.
eBay link.
Here we go. Here's Tommy's eBay.
Put it in the private as well, if you could.
Yeah, check out Tommy's eBay, and yeah, that would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Okay, now, Vinny, go ahead. Let people know what you got going on.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing that so I could put it on Twitter. Tomorrow. Yeah, definitely tune in for our for the toy stream. You can find it on my channel, Tommy's channel, and my X account. Yeah, we're gonna be going over the boy. I didn't realize. I just looked at the screen yet. I had another screen up. I'm like, yeah, wow. I forgot how these eyes just follow you everywhere. I creep myself out with some of these paintings. Yeah, if you want more of my awesome artwork, definitely go to vinnyart.com. It'll take you to the Shot of the Kraken campaign from there, or just go to my Twitter account. It's at vinnyart, like you see it on screen there. Click the links in the description. It should take you to all that great stuff. But yeah, I have 2 active campaigns where I have the art book campaign, I have Shot of the Kraken campaign, and everything ships immediately. So there's like no wait, no hesitation. Yeah, if you want some awesome stuff. And this piece is in the big art book, the 140 something page art book. So yeah, if you want some cool stuff, definitely jump on all that. I am on the last handful of pages of City of Venus for the pencils and inks. So yeah, I'm eager to get back into actually, getting the rest of the painting done on this book. I have like the first third of it all painted already. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's just me, but you can see the quality that I'm putting into all of my projects as you're staring at, as you're being stared at by Hannibal Lecter himself. So yeah, and Friday, yeah, we do the Underground show, which is a little bit of everything. We'll talk about political shit, movie shit, video games. It doesn't matter. A little bit of everything. And then Sunday, speaking of more serial killers and great shows and series that we've been watching, we're on season 2 of Dexter from the Showtime, not the cartoon, the actual serial killer dude. Yeah, episodes, is it 10 and no 9 and 10?
9 and 10, I think.
9 and 10. I get confused a little bit with it. We've been covering so much shit. Well, not shit, but great stuff the past bunch of weeks. So yeah, 9 and 10. Yeah, we're getting closer to the end of season 2, which is crazy. So yeah, get ready for some more awesome surprises and cool stuff with awesome friends here. Trina, thank you so much. Tommy, thank you, buddy. And thank you everyone out there in the chat tonight. You guys and girls are fantastic.
All right, awesome. Yeah, this was awesome. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Also, thank you all in the chat and anyone watching on the replay. Thank you as well. And yeah, we will be back here next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be covering Silence of the Lambs. Hope you all have, it's almost Thursday already, but hope you all enjoy the rest of Wednesday. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great one. Everybody take care. Thank you.
Bon appetit.